Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Golden Ratio Podcast. I am Jen, GR Mom, joined as always by GR Dad.
Hello.
He's wearing my sunglasses, which I saw him put on sunglasses from like emotion out of the corner of my eye. I didn't realize they were mine.
I'm hilarious.
They look great. They're bright green.
Yeah.
Yep. Good job.
Look good on me, though.
They look great.
Huh.
This is, by popular request, our waiting in line for your vaccine second shot edition.
Shots.
We have had no shots, no drinks.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm sober this time. Not that I wasn't last time. I wasn't last time.
You were not at the start, and you really were not at the end. This one promises to be much more sober.
I'm starting way behind.
We do have a bottle of champagne on ice to celebrate still being alive, so that'll get popped at some point.
Evergreen
during the
drink.
Podcast. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so this is obviously a no-rules podcast. Your dad's favorite kind.
Some would say all are no rules for me.
I have topics, though.
Ugh.
Okay, so I was like, what are we going to talk about for 3 hours? Because that's a very long time.
I know.
And so I was like, well, I can let Jer Dad talk about house renovation stuff, which is what I keep shutting you down. It's like, no, that's boring. Stop talking about the windows. So now I'm going to give you total freedom to talk about house stuff on this podcast. But before we get to that, which I feel like will be a long discussion of many house projects and
Doubtful.
perhaps sharing some wisdom on like household activities. While we do have a number of followers who are our age or older, we have a lot of followers who are early in their independent lives who may be interested in random tips or here or there.
Man.
But before we get to that, I have on my list here GR Dad's OnlyFans.
We're not going to resolve that today.
We're going to talk all about it, though. So,
boy.
If you missed it on Twitter, I've been pushing. First, I was pushing for Vink to have an OnlyFans, and then Ingo's like, no, Vink's my baby. She can't be an OnlyFans. And I was like, okay. Ingo
She did have a dating profile for a while. Vink has a couple.
There's a whole episode of the podcast where we put Vink on Tinder. And
he did.
Yeah.
She matched with maybe some other dogs, but maybe some guys.
If I had been looking to get that's your dog.
A boat. That's guac.
If I'd been looking to get an actual date, I probably could have hooked a date just with the pictures of Vink as a profile picture.
Yeah, I think she had a bow tie. She had a handsome profile.
She was very cute.
She may still be on Tinder.
I haven't deleted her profile. I did delete the app, though.
Amassing matches.
Anyway, so I was like, Dear Dad needs to have an OnlyFans, but it's going to be like wholesome dad-type content, fully clothed, just like, and so I've got bullet points of things that can go on your OnlyFans.
I can see the mischievous glint in your eye as you're suggesting this. Like, I think you think it's actually a good idea.
I think it's a great idea.
Oh,
like, it's a way to create some bonus content, make some extra cash, a thing that we're trying to do these days. Okay, dad jokes with GR Dad.
Oh,
I'll do all the filming and editing, so I'm just going to be like, GR Dad, like, let's sit down and do a dad joke. And
dad jokes under pressure are not as good as, like, my spontaneous geniuses.
They're not genius or spontaneous ones.
Yeah,
You can
it'll get even worse if they're if they're scheduled.
Dad advice, stuff that you often do.
Oof.
Not so much with your own kid, who you kind of like, you let her do her thing, but you like to say dad advice that maybe other people should give to people.
Everyone's a better parent to everyone else's kids than their own kid, yes.
But it's not like you're going like, Larry should really tell little Jimmy this piece of dad advice. You just go like, what's like a really good piece of advice? Would you just tell to me? Not that you think I need the advice, but I feel like there's a buildup, and if I'm taking notes, I'll catalog some of this. Housekeeping with GR Dad.
God.
Like, when I fold T-shirts, I fold them in half, the like tall ways, and then I like fold the sleeves onto one side, and then I fold that in half, like
you have
so
a method.
It's half as tall, and it ends up with this real kind of wobbly ratchet ass pile. And GR Dad folds T-shirts, and they're all these perfect little squares with all the logos facing up, and they're nice and flat and stacked. So we could do like how to fold a T-shirt with GR Dad. We could just do like 4 minutes of GR Dad folding all the towels.
Yeah, and not with that folding board. That's for a machine. You can't. You got to have the human element.
So we could just like,
Robots can't replace me.
I think we mentioned on the podcast. So when we finished renovating our bathroom, which was the last project in that big long string of house projects, I was like, our white towels are all, looking a little aged.
This was a funny initiative. I don't think we have talked about it. It's good.
So, all right, let me go back. So when I rented the office in Key West, that now Jared Dad uses more than me, which is fine. But we have an office in Key West, and this was going to be like my little enclave. We will talk about my here enclave when we get into house stuff. But I was like, okay, let's look at Pinterest and like do some crazy shit to decorate it that's like not necessarily what I'd put in my house. So I got these like full length wall decals for an entire wall of like banana leaves.
It might be bamboo shoots or something. It's like a forest.
It's like all leaves on one wall.
Ah.
And I was like, I'm going to do like green banana leaves and like pink. I never decorate anything pink. So I got a pink rug and I'm like, I'm going to get an IKEA chair, like an Ektorp chair, which are super comfy, like the big armchairs with
God, get the Ektorp,
with like an ottoman so I can just kind of like stretch out. I also have a Gronlid chaise, which is in my University of Maryland office, which is equally comfy.
Yeah, the Ektorp is good for me because I lie across it.
Yeah.
Except I broke it that one time because Buttercup kept jumping up on me to like on my lap.
Yeah. So I got one of these and it comes with a slip cover and I was like, it'd be cool to have it be pink. And so I bought like 4 bottles of RIT dye to dye it pink. And I read all this stuff.
Spell RIT.
R-I-T? R-I-T-T?
I don't know. I actually honestly
I think it's
asking.
R-I-T.
Yeah.
It's kind of the dye that if you have dyed anything in your life, that's the fabric dye. Like you used to be able to buy it at the grocery store. Maybe you still can. But like any art supply store has or craft stores have it. So I got this dye and the fixative to like really dye this thing. And then I was like, whenever I have one of these chairs like that I work in, I put my feet up on the ottoman and I don't want it to get dirty. So I get like a blanket to put on it. And I was like, well, maybe I'll just get a pink blanket. And then the chair looks basically pink anyway, and I don't have to dye it because I'll probably fuck that up because I don't have good patience for this kind of thing. So that worked great. And I had 4 bottles of bright, like bubblegum pink dye.
Calling your name.
Just sitting around.
Sitting around, yeah.
Fast forward from last September to like end of January, beginning of February, and our bathroom has been renovated. And I was like, okay, we have this, like everything is new in that bathroom. Thank God. It's because it was.
It's so much nicer now. Looking at the pictures before is now painful.
Jared Dad saying it's so much nicer is downplaying how bad it was. Like, we've sort of talked about it, and we'll get more in depth into what they had to do. But like the subfloor was rotted in places, and we had that fixed so literally the toilet wouldn't fall through the floor, but they didn't replace the tiles, so there was like exposed subfloor. Like shit was broken. It was like old 90s cheap ass cabinetry.
In hindsight, we've walked through like abandoned houses that had nicer bathrooms than what we were living in.
Yes, it was bad. So now it's bright and new and beautiful. And I was like, we're not going to put our, towels that just, white towels grow dingy over time just with washing, right?
And they rip occasionally around this household.
And I'm like, there will be no dingy towels for human use in this house. And Jared Dad and I have a low grade battle going of like me going, these are the nice towels. and Jared Dad going like, yeah, but Hops really needed to be dried. So anyway, I was like, okay, Jared Dad, I'm buying fluffy, pristine white towels for our new bathroom. And so then all the old white towels, which we had a bunch of, can now be dog towels.
Mm-hmm.
But
various sizes, various vintages.
Yep. But I did not trust that your dad would be able to distinguish, and not so much not using the new fluffy towels on the dogs, but I was more worried that you'd hang up the old dingy towels in the new bathroom because you'd be like, I don't know, it looked fine to me. So I was like, how can I make it so Jared Dad cannot possibly mistake these old dingy towels for the new towels? I know. I will dye them pink because I have a buckload of pink dye. Now, I got to say, there were like 30 towels. I threw out the ones with holes, and I think we still have 20 that I kept. There are a lot of...
we go through a lot with the dogs.
Yes.
It's not too many.
And Voods rips them. Like, it's good to have a lot of towels. But there are like 20, 2 full loads. And they're just for the dogs. So I don't care that they're like evenly dyed and colored. I just throw them in the washing machine. I like pour the liquid dye on top of them. This is not what you're supposed to do. I like literally had a 5-gallon bucket, like filling it up and like dumping it in the washing machine.
I was not around for this.
No, you were out of town. Because we have a high efficiency washer, so it doesn't fill up where your clothes are sitting in a lot of water. So I had to like bring water in to get them to soak in there. Oh, it was quite a process. And so they look kind of like pink tie-dyed towels. I didn't actually tie them.
If you tie down something pink and white.
Yeah, that's right. But it's fine. Like I knew they would come out like that, and I don't care. They're just for the dogs. And then of course we had like a few weeks where the pink towels and other stuff got washed together.
I was not very strict on the separation.
I was once like, dear Dad, could you not wash the stuff with the pink towels? And he's like, sure. And then a few more things are now, they're not pink, but they're not white anymore. They're kind of now dingy looking.
I stopped as soon as he told me. Those are just hiding ones that were hidden.
Well, in any case, that has stopped. But anyway, and I think a lot of the extra dye has come out. But we got all of these pink towels. So they're like the go-to dog towels now. We have all the towels we had before, but we've got like a perfect stack of pink towels.
Yeah.
And so we could do, coming back to Dear Dad OnlyFans, we could do just like often Dear Dad will do a full load of just pink towels.
Oh.
And then the dryer of pink towels coming out, and we could just like do you folding the pink towels. So like we'll have a little chat. You're clothed, right? Then none of this is sexy times OnlyFans.
No.
I mean, we
nope,
probably would get some extra cash if we did that because you look real nice. But I'm not pushing for that. I'm not pushing for that.
That's good. Don't push for that.
But I'm thinking like video of like Dear Dad and just like a little chat while you fold towels. Like
Still trying to get my head around this.
I think it would be fun stuff.
I feel a lot of pressure to do content.
So I would make all the content. You'd
be director. You're like my agent and director.
Producer, poster. You just got to be the
I'm
the guy.
Talent.
We could, if you're not ready for an OnlyFans, we could set up like @GRDad on TikTok, and these would all work fine as TikToks. And then I could just post. I'd have like a fourth channel that's like GRDad, and it can just be like dad content with GRDad.
I can't.
We can show you like making your drip coffee.
People would want to watch me. I'd get roasted on TikTok. People are like, what the hell is this? Some dude folding towels? He's not even gay. I mean, it's like not even a category on TikTok. What the heck? What the heck, man?
It may be appealing to the gay crowd.
Maybe. Yeah.
Be fine.
Yeah. But it's not there's so many niches in TikTok, right? There's like niche of this and niche of that.
Yeah, well, there's Golden Ratio TikTok, and they'd all watch you fold towels.
That's fine. I know. I love those guys.
All right. We could also do them as YouTube videos. Start off.
That's funny.
Little YouTube videos. So then we'd shoot them in landscape instead of portrait, and just have like a little series. Like instead of the daily snaps, it'd be like Fridays with GR Dad.
Vacuuming Wednesdays.
I mean, these don't have to be like everyday posts. Just like once a week, we could put up a GR Dad video. Like here's GR Dad on how to make his coffee, and then it would just be like our fans. And then you could see the feedback you get. And then you guys could like chime in the comments and be like, I'd pay $7 a month for this on OnlyFans. And then eventually Jared Dad would be like, oh, holy heck, I could be making bank on OnlyFans.
Could be making $14. Because Jen.
I was going to say, if I were you, I would subscribe to your OnlyFans.
Yeah, if you were you would not because you know better. But if I were me, I would totally subscribe to my own channel and be like, hey, that guy needs $7. I'll give him $7.
So on that note, since this is a rambling podcast, so as we have discussed on the regular podcast, we've been doing a ton of cameos, which is great. And so I log into my professional Twitter a couple days ago, and I have a direct message from Cameo, like the Cameo
the
Twitter
company.
account.
Yeah,
like verified Cameo account. And it's like, Jen, I miss seeing you. You know, it's been a long time since we've talked at the Speakers Bureau. I'd love to talk to you about speakers on Cameo. Here's what we do. So it's like someone who used to book me for speaking events at the Speakers Bureau.
This is like when I get a text message from a number that I don't have as a contact, and he's like, hey, how's it going? How how about those things? Haven't seen you in a while. And I'm like, I don't know. You're not in my contact.
I did some research, so I figured out who it was.
Yeah.
So actually, two people that I used to work with, who would book me for events and manage my events at the Speakers Bureau, which is, obviously I haven't been going and doing speeches for COVID. The Speakers Bureau laid a ton of people off, at the beginning of the pandemic because we weren't booking any events.
Yeah.
And so two of them have ended up at Cameo, which is, if you're looking for this kind of job, all the Cameo jobs are remote. So if you want to work at like a techie startup, I was scrolling through their careers page after I was like, oh, that's interesting. These people are there. So they have a ton of, like a wide range of different jobs, and they're all remote. So if you like working at home, anyway, they seem happy there.
Man,
so
I don't think of the back end of like Cameo or TikTok hardly at all, right? That there's like a whole bunch of people working there and coding, and I don't know what else they'd be doing.
Yeah.
Selling? I don't know.
These people both do sales. If you work at Cameo, they call you part of the Fameo.
Oh, it's better than trying to make them into like chameleons or something.
Yeah.
Cameons.
So anyway, so I was like, yeah, I'm on Cameo. I'm making a ton of cameos every day for the dogs. Like, did you guys forget about the dogs? And they're like, oh my God, you're doing so good with the dogs on Cameo. So anyway, they're like, we think there's a big potential for speakers on Cameo. And I was like, why would anybody book me? Like me, not
Right.
as like GR mom, like me, Professor Goldbeck. And she's like, well, for like shout outs to like CEOs or for like employees of the week or, like welcoming people to a thing. And I was like, nobody knows who I am. Why would anybody hire me for this?
Yeah.
But I think they're trying to build it up. Like I can see it. And I don't know that they're pushing this yet, though. When I talked to her, I talked about this. Like, I could see it where, like, so they have, like, a business side of Cameo, which is, they market to businesses. They're much more bespoke than, like, the Cameo that we're doing with the dogs, where you kind of say, give me a birthday thing that's X, Y, and Z. Like, you have a salesperson at Cameo who will talk to you about, like, what you want, and they'll help partner you up with the right person.
But it's often someone famous. I mean, it could be like Dolly Parton giving advice on employee motivation or something. Is that the model? I'm still struggling to find this business. How it would work.
I think they're kind of figuring it out, frankly.
Okay.
But so one way that I could see it working is like, so a lot of places don't have a budget to bring me in. Right? Like as I have said on TikTok, I am expensive to have come in and do like an hour talk at your event. And so a lot of places are like, our budget is $1,000. It's $2,000. You can't book me or any other professional speaker really for that kind
Right.
of budget. It's really small. Like an academic thing, sure, right, but not a business one. And so if you have a budget of $1,000, you could get me to do like a Cameo created, like here's a 5-minute, like, oh, you're going to have a breakout section to talk about like data ethics. So here's a 5-minute video from me that's like really like curated to your group. And I'm going to like give you one really compelling story and then talk about like, okay, so like here's some things to think about. What do you think about X, Y, and Z? And then they could build a session off that. So it's
That
sort
makes
of
sense.
like
So
that.
You could do like a coach thing. 5 minutes sounds like a really interesting sweet spot, actually.
Yeah. So that's, I see there being potential there, and they're just starting this up and trying to think about it. So I'm one of the first speakers they're bringing in for it. I don't know why anyone would want me to do, like Professor Jen Goldbeck, to do a shout out to their employee of the month. Though, you can book me on Cameo if you want me to, but
But you could talk about data privacy in a company for some, it could be part of a 2-hour session. It could be like, here's what is scary about it, and here's why we don't want you, exposing the data. I don't know.
Right. Now, if you're gonna do a panel session with like internal company people, but you can be like, to open this up, like here's an expert on X, Y, and Z, like here's all of her credentials, and she's given us like this little picture of it, and I give them like a short 3 or 4 minute video.
Yeah.
And then, then they go, okay, so we're going to talk about X, Y, and Z based on that. Like that I could see working.
Here's how we apply it to us. That makes some sense.
Yeah. So, I think they're kind of figuring it out. But I was sort of like, why would anybody pay for this? And then I was like, okay, so I set it all up, right? I made a little intro video, just like for the dogs, put my profile, and they made it look all nice for me and set the prices and everything. And I was like, okay, so I need to get booked now, right? Like it looks better if I have reviews. I'm like, maybe I should buy one from myself
No,
Like,
I would buy it.
yeah, it's like
I have no visible connection to you.
You can be like, Jen, I would love you to give me like a data privacy like intro for my panel discussion,
Yeah.
and then you pay whatever $35, and I get 25 of them, so it's actually costing us $10, and then you can give me like 5 stars and be like, oh my god, Dr. Jinglebuck is amazing, the best, 100% the best.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. I
Would
have
be.
not done that, but I might. That'd be good. You might.
Totally.
So anyway, I think you should have an OnlyFans, but I understand your reluctance, and so maybe we start with a YouTube video.
I'd always
Once a
fall off
week.
the pole. It would be bad. Terrible.
We don't have a pole in our house, everybody.
You want the dad jokes? Here's one.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm still toying with the idea. And if it were you, toying with the idea means doing it now. And if it's me, toying with the idea means maybe in a year.
I'm just going to start making the videos. You're going to be folding laundry, and I'm going to be like, do you have a shirt on? I'm coming in there, and I'm filming it.
Take it off, quick. I might have to get tattoos. A lot of people on TikTok seem to have tattoos.
I mean, I don't think it's a requirement, though.
I don't know. I'm just trying to do what the kids are doing.
Whatever makes you happy in life, you should do. There you go. Have we told the story on the podcast about my first husband's tattoo? It is one of my more
don't know.
favorites.
It bears repeating. It bears repeating.
So my first husband now has a bunch of tattoos, but at the time when I met him, he had 0 tattoos, but he really wanted to start getting some. I thought this was dumb.
And you were both in your 20s. I mean, it wasn't like me trying to think about get tattoos now.
No, that's right. I mean, I was 24, he was 23.
Yeah.
Maybe. I was 22 and he was 21. Yeah, we were very, very young. And he just wanted to get tattoos, right? It wasn't like, oh, this thing is really meaningful to me, or oh, I'd like to get a tattoo of my favorite quote or my favorite book or
I was in
cartoon
the Marines
character.
and I get that tattoo, right? There's like, yeah.
He's like, I just want to get one. Like, he literally went in, like, picked something off the board, and what he picked was a barbed wire armband, like, around his
generic.
so generic. I thought this was the dumbest thing. I mean, like, if it makes people happy, they should get what they want, right? And I guess this made him happy. I mean, he wasn't happy about a lot of things at the time, but was
Didn't fix all his problems anyway. I almost did a spit take. He was not happy.
No, he was not a happy guy. And but anyway, he got this thing, and I would sort of give him a hard time about it. And then one night he was asleep in bed, and I took a Sharpie. He was a deep sleeper.
Permanent marker.
And I drew, so I used the barbed wire, and then I drew in fence posts with like little grasses at the bottom all the way around. So it was like a barbed wire fence, and then I drew a cartoon cow behind the barbed wire fence.
You draw good cows.
My cartoon cows are funny.
It had some attitude. Yeah, it was good.
I still have in my like photos on my computer, I still have a picture of his sleeping arm with the cow behind.
This is why I know what it looks like. Yeah.
He thought it was funny, like he was a perfectly
This is
good
a missed
sportsman.
opportunity. He should have just gotten that as a tattoo. That would have been
funny. Would have been funny to be like, I mean, yeah, barbed wire armband, but like on a fence with a cartoon cow that my wife drew. That I respect a tattoo like that.
Man, you're in a bad tradition though when you draw on sleeping people with Sharpies. It's usually in a totally different direction. Yours was wholesome and nice and creative and well done. Yes.
Thank you. But yeah, like then this is not judgment against tattoos in general, right?
When did he notice? Like, did it take him a while? Because he probably wasn't checking that thing all the time.
I feel like I had to tell him the next day.
You should have just
I
laughed
know.
for weeks.
God, I don't have that kind of patience.
Could have played it for weeks.
Because it was so smart.
Oh.
I needed my brilliance recognized.
Well, that's true. You also aren't very good at delayed gratification.
No, that's certainly true. My therapist I was talking to him about being stressed out about a thing, and I was like, yeah, Ingo sometimes like we'll be sitting in front of the TV like watching a movie, and he'll be like, I wonder what this bad shark movie made at the box office. And he wants me to talk about it with him.
Because I want to say, I think it was this, or I probably think it was that. I have some idea that it's in Canada, so the dollars are different. So I would have had all sorts of, like, basically bullshit about it.
But we could have talked for, like, 20 minutes.
Yeah, it would have made me happy.
This.
Yeah.
And I know. And I go, Dave, he wants to do stuff like this all the time. And I'm like, I'm not talking about this. I'll just look it up. I don't understand why people want to wonder about stuff when the actual answer is just accessible and right there.
Man.
And he goes, you really didn't pick up on that social clue, did you, Jen? And I was like, no, man, I don't understand why people do this. He's like, well, maybe like this is a thing that like you should practice doing in a low stakes way, that just wonder about something for a while. I'm like, this is stupid. Like, I'll do this because you tell me to do it, but I think it's dumb, and I'm always going to think it's dumb to wonder about something where you can just look up the answer.
Maybe it's guys, or maybe it's from sports, but like there's a whole genre of like having these huge debates about, I mean, granted, about things that don't have an answer, right? Like, what if Wayne Gretzky was playing against Sidney Crosby today?
I don't have any interest in that stuff.
You can talk about that that's a sports radio. It's like 2 hours of that. Like, you know, is high altitude really a thing? And does it favor the home team or not? And then they have some statistics, right? But there's no good answer.
Oh, see, this is exactly the kind of stuff where I'm like, shut up. Like, there's no answer. Why are you talking about this? Like, you're not going to figure out anything. Like, you're just blathering. Like, go do a study or look up the research. And if there's not an answer, there's nothing that you're going to get out of this conversation.
But it's a whole industry of like, I mean, certainly, you know, sports radio has always had stuff like that, where it's just like, you know, just these weird little what ifs and did you know this is quirky, I wonder why this is true, and then like 3 hours of uninformed discussion.
I mean, I think this isn't just talk radio. I think this is like a thing humans do that I don't understand and
Maybe.
I don't participate well in.
I don't know that all humans do.
I mean, I don't, and I am a human, despite what I've been accused of.
It may be very ageist, right? This was certainly a thing before the internet, which is when I kind of was doing this, right?
Yeah.
And when it was, you couldn't look anything up, so you just had this sort of rambly debate, and everyone just kind of, you know, sometimes the people who shouted the loudest won, or sometimes people who kept at it the most won. Who knows? There was no scorekeeper.
When I was an undergrad at the University of Chicago, and for much time before and after, the University of Chicago does a thing called Scav Hunt, scavenger hunt, in the spring, which is a very crazy...
That's their name for it, Scav Hunt?
Scav Hunt.
Boy, you guys are wild and crazy. That is a nutty abbreviation.
It's quite a thing. So
the thing is awesome.
There's a list.
I just think the name is a bit unimaginative. For instead of scavenger hunt, you say scav hunt.
I mean, it's just shorter.
I know. There's nothing else about
I guess
it.
Some people call it scav.
Scav even is a little bit better, although gross sounding.
All right, so I'm going to read you the list. You have to get... So
it's
there's
pretty
a list.
epic.
It's like on the day that Scav Hunts begins, like you have to... So you make teams. Often it's like the house of your dorm. It could be your whole dorm. It could be a club that you're in. And so you have a team. And the day of Scav Hunt, like somebody from your team has to go to the launching of the list, the presentation of the list.
Yeah, like the opening ceremony.
Yeah. So and then you get things on the list. Things are worth different points. And then on like Sunday, there's the judging.
It's 24 hours? No, it's
I want to say it's 4 days.
Whoa.
3 or 4 days. Because there's a road trip component.
No.
Like 1 year that I did it, obviously everybody starts in Chicago and you had to drive to Georgia. And it was like salt and pepper shakers from the IHOP on, Interstate 35, 64, whatever. In this particular IHOP, you need to bring back the salt and pepper shakers.
Wow.
So you couldn't just fly to Georgia, you had to drive. It's just enough time. Like the road trip people have to leave that night.
Yeah.
And then they basically arrive back the next day, the day of the judging.
Nice.
So it's just enough time.
So it's team members that are out for everything else then.
That's right. Yeah, and usually have 4 who go on that.
Like baby driver. Yeah, there's a driver in the nav.
So and so then you get judged on the last day, and faculty members are the judges. Each faculty member gets a page of the list, which I'm looking is probably 20 pages.
20 pages?
15 pages of items. 132 items.
Wow.
But so here's some stuff.
Nobody gets everything. I mean, it's not designed to like check them all off and do everything. It's like get as many as you can in the time.
One year when I did it, an elephant was on the list, like a live actual elephant.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody did get one.
If you drive to Georgia, you might see an elephant.
You have to bring the elephant to judging.
Somebody brought a live elephant to judging.
You can rent them.
Get out.
Yep.
Shut the front door.
Yeah, they had an elephant. Yeah, you have to bring it to judging, and the judges go like, that's an elephant. You can't have a stuffed elephant. They're like, no.
Jeez.
Okay.
Even not hops with a trunk and a tail or something. Hops with an elephant mask. That'd be pretty good.
So here's an item from the list. This year, the Scav hive mind has decided to upload itself into the net. We've decided to collect your blood sacrifice in the form of zeros and ones to search for a COVID-19 cure. Create a folding at-home team to solve one of those wily Rona proteins and help scientists find a cure. Get a fold-in with your personal computers only, and the team with the most work units accumulated wins. Send your folding at-home team name to scavfolds@gmail.com.
What's a fold?
So it's a...
Is this like Smurf? Send your Smurfing entry into Smurf and Smurfing?
Folding at Home is a protein folding simulator that runs as a screensaver on your computer. And so basically when your computer goes to screensaver mode, it connects to a central repository, gets a protein folding program, which is computationally very hard, downloads to your computer, and runs in little bits on your computer in like units, and then sends the results of the simulation back up.
You're helping science with your screensaver.
You're helping science with your screensaver. So SETI at Home was the first one to do this, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. You get a tiny little block, and then your computer would analyze it for like signs of intelligence and send it back up. And you get points per unit, and then you can sign up with a team. I had all the lab computers that I was in charge of running SETI at Home under my account as their screensavers. So I was like winning for a long time on SETI at Home. So anyway, this is your team can use their personal computers to run protein folding simulations as part of this thing to try to find a cure to COVID-19. That's very UFC. And so you get theta points for that. Theta points.
The number theta?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys, my brain hurts. The unabashed nerdiness.
Number 74 is a pamphlet with helpful information from an Imperium of Man financial advisor on how to get the most of your Warhammer 401k. And you get 4.01 and then K question mark points.
So Warhammer is a video game.
Well,
do you have to go to the Imperium of Man in Warhammer and find a financial advisor?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then get advice on how to get, and then you have to go to the judges and be like, here is what we did for this, and then they'll decide how many points you get. How many reanimated skeletons communicate without, let's try that again. How can reanimated skeletons communicate without tongues, lungs, or vocal cords? Well, in Austrian, Ostrian, of course, and to help us bone up on the local skeleton, you've put together a small but lovingly crafted phrasebook complete with anatomically correct drawings showing the many ways skeletons sign and clatter their bones to get there. 18 points across.
Oh, you have to make an alphabet of bone sounds. Mm-hmm. Or not an alphabet, a word book. Dictionary.
Number 77 is just Mandrake and Josh. 1 point.
What is that even?
A lot of it is figuring out what it is even. Yeah. Oh, here. Coming soon. Pokemon Clark and Lake, set in a Poke-filled version of Chicago. Show us a few of the game's signature Pokemon, including both new species and regional variants on old favorites. For each critter, please provide an illustration, Pokedex entry, and a set of 4 moves. 3 points per Pokemon, maximum 6 Pokemon.
You have to make Pokemon characters that are University of Chicago-esque.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So.
Wow. Do they have to work?
They don't have to work in the game, I don't think, because that would be an extra level. Yeah.
Wow.
So when I was doing this, it was a lot like this, but some of it was just informational, right? Like,
find the phone number.
How much did the State Department send to, this project in Africa last year? And you literally would have to look up the number of the State Department and call the guy who got real irritated by the second day. Right, of all these people
15
calling.
15 teams have called him already, yeah.
Because the internet, I was in college in the late 90s, so the web was around, but it didn't have nearly the volume of information that it does now. So you couldn't just look shit like this
There was
up.
no Google. There was not even Ask Jeeves.
There was no Google, yeah. There was Ask Jeeves. Google, started at Stanford in 98, and I graduated in 99. So,
but it didn't start out as powerful as it is now.
No.
If there's nothing for it to search, it really doesn't work as well.
Yeah. So, anyway, scav hunt is a good time.
When I was in college, I sent an email once. Went to the basement of the science center and figured out that I had a .edu or whatever.
fs.harvard.edu.
Probably. Address, possibly, or we all had a signed one, or I could
You get an
set
assigned
one up.
one, yeah, typically.
And I sent one to my friend who was sitting next to me at the next computer terminal.
Oh, that's
I was
cool.
like, oh, look, we just did email. And then, like, we never did it again. Because why? It's very random. Because I didn't have a computer in college.
Oh, you're so old.
I shared one.
So old.
I would, like, borrow computers.
Oh, my God.
I remember one night my roommates and I were in the same, three of us were in the same class that none of us really liked. And we all had the same midterm paper due the next day. And so we were all using the same computer. And so we had shifts, and I had like the midnight to 4 a.m. shift or something. I think I got a C+ or something.
Oh.
We sucked at that paper. I was so tired. Maybe I had midnight to 6, and then I had to hand it off to the next guy who had 6 to noon. And the guy before me had the 6 to midnight shift. I don't know how I drew the
I can't believe
midnight to 6.
all you guys at uber privileged Harvard and you couldn't get like a goddamn Tandy so you'd have a backup one someplace.
It was almost a Tandy. You could go to the computer lab. I think we could have worked in the computer lab.
Yeah.
We'd have to print off our dot matrix paper. It would still have the hole punches in the side of the paper that we had to rip off. It was pretty different. It was pretty different. We were too cheap to buy computers. We're not going to buy computers. We're students. You know how expensive those things were?
I mean, yeah, I know they were.
Then by the time I was a senior, people had the Apple IIes and were like playing. Tetris was big because still new. Minesweeper, was that the game that came installed?
Yeah.
And other games.
Maybe if you didn't play Minesweeper, you would have done better on that paper.
Yeah, those are different years.
All right, let me read you some more things from this list before you start going all old guy rambly on us about.
I just did.
I let you go for a while because this is a 3-hour podcast, but you're done now.
Content is gold.
No, that's just
Go ahead.
old man rambling right there.
Go ahead.
All right, I'm just
Wait, what you're doing is kind of rambling from the olden days, but go ahead.
This is last year's list. I'm telling you what people did.
Go ahead.
I'm not like back in my day.
Go ahead.
We feel like we spend all day wiping down doorknobs. Life would be easier if we had a Rube Goldberg machine that would spray disinfectant on our doorknobs and wipe as its last step, ensuring the hygiene barrier of our home. 33 points. That's a good one.
Make a low-tech or high-tech.
Rube Goldberg machine.
Yeah.
That's fun.
I mean, you could say it's a robot.
Sure.
Mechanized
Yeah.
thing. For the next edition of Shark Tank, I have discovered
I
something
have
that
a mousetrap
pops out of your belt buckle and sprays disinfectant on stuff.
No, this is like you need the ping pong ball rolling down the track that knocks over the
Oh.
coffee cup that like rolls a different golf ball out that sets off the mousetrap that
Drops
does
the
thing.
bowling ball on the spray can.
Exactly, and go.
Ah.
Yeah. All right, last one. Because this is just if you're considering going to the University of Chicago, this is what people think is a good time.
This is the high watermark of good time.
Highest.
Let's not
Oh, yes.
Let's not undersell that. This is all. I don't want to say all sober, but sober students enjoy stuff like this.
Using any musical instrument that you have available, record yourself playing "Think About Things" at its tempo of 127 beats per minute in the key of E flat minor. You are not required to play the melody, although you can. You could play a rhythm guitar part or a bass line or sing melody or backup. 3 submissions per team.
What is Think About Things?
Well, I mean,
Is this a University of Chicago song?
No.
Is it Sesame Street?
Think About Things is no. Our theme song is. Hang on, let's see if I can play it here.
Your theme song is incredible.
I can't wait to know.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh my God, Ingo! I was trying to show Ingo that song that I just put 3 seconds of because I don't want to violate copyright and get a flag for it on our video.
Yeah.
So I put in 3 seconds because that's fair use. And as I was showing it, the entire computer crashed, just like shut itself off. And then I started up GarageBand again where we record. Nothing. There is 0 minutes.
I gotta say, you handled it well. I was on the ground in the fetal position. I wasn't, actually, but mentally I was ready to give up on everything. But you were like, clickety-clackety, click-click-clack, clickety-clack.
I have a PhD in computer science, and I found the auto backup hidden in a secret folder.
The auto backup, it's like in the cloud or something.
Anyway, we got it. We didn't lose anything except a few years off our life. So
But we didn't lose an hour of our time.
anyway, that song is by an Icelandic group whose name has many decorations on the letters that make me incapable of pronouncing it.
And a lot of Y's and TH's. It's, I was saying, Iceland, for a small country, man, they make a lot of big contribution to music, and not just Bjork, although a lot of it's Bjork.
Well, let's toast to auto recovery. We poured our champagne while we took a break.
And Iceland.
And Iceland. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we also took the opportunity to feed and medicate the little cheese, take him out,
Yep.
bring him back in.
He has to eat every 12 hours, and we take that very seriously. I mean, it is 7:30 to 7:30 to 7:30. It is we're very disciplined about it.
Mm-hmm. I think, we'll have
For good reason.
For sure. We'll be able to flex a little bit on everything once he gets more stable.
I
But
keep saying maybe one day he'll be able to get snacks.
eventually he'll be able to get snacks. But
And I don't care if they're like, rocks that are approved by the vet or something. Just the concept
Vet-approved
of
rocks.
giving snacks.
I think that's ice.
I was thinking of something inert. He might not want ice. I'd have to be beef flavored ice.
I don't know if beef flavored ice would be okay, but you could give him ice cubes now. That's a rock, and it's vet approved.
All right.
Okay.
Have we tried it? We haven't tried them on ice cubes.
no.
Oh, well, look at that.
Who knows?
Project.
All right. So, yeah, we don't need to go back to the scav hunt list or
I mean, we can. It's 135 items. You could read each one of them.
Daddy Fryer.
Fleur.
Think about things.
I think we were talking about, what was it? Working out stuff before the internet and fighting about being, like,
Wondering about things.
wondering or
I mean,
not.
we're not fighting. I respect that this is a thing people do, and I'm just not capable.
Oh,
of
you
doing
and I aren't fighting. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
arguing about a result versus having an actual answer that is correct.
Oh, yeah, no, it seems dumb to me. Don't spit out that tasty champagne. Yeah, okay. Well, all of this comes back to you need to have an OnlyFans, and if you won't do it, then I'm going to start making him his YouTube videos, and
You're just going to film me sort of secretly.
I'll set up the OnlyFans, and it's just going to be like at GRDad on OnlyFans, and I'm not even going to tell you. I'm just going to post like
It'll be like hidden camera of me like singing to myself as I do laundry or
it's
something.
like the domestic equivalent of like secret upskirt photography. It's like wholesome and not at all like really
God, I
violating.
never knew what my husband was doing while I was out of the house, so I set up a secret camera, and this is it, and you'll be shocked by number 4.
Yeah.
I was like, he's
Folding
napping.
itself.
He's napping.
I did take a picture of you last night, which I will not post to the internet. You were asleep in bed.
Yeah.
So you were in your spot and you were on your side facing my side. I was not in bed.
Mm-hmm.
But in my spot, head on the pillow and everything was Guac
Guacamole.
facing you. And you guys had like your little arms entwined and your knees were touching. It was so cute. And I was like, please don't let them wake up. Please let me take a picture of this.
More likely he would wake up. I mean,
It was very cute.
when I stop petting him, he scratches me. The intertwined was me petting him until I fell asleep, I think.
He has become more aggressive with like flipping his head under the arm to get like, pet me. Put that hand on my head.
I think I have a snap of that where it was like
Mm-hmm.
pet and then drop the arm, and he digs under the arm, puts it on his head and like moves his head around like it's a dead hand. I'm gonna pet myself with this
Guac.
dead floppy hand.
Guac, come here. I'll pet you. What's he doing now? I can only see his
Yeah,
butt.
he's just looking around like, oh, I didn't know you could see me in the kitchen. He's just exploring. I don't think he's in trouble yet.
Okay, that's
But
fine.
his thoughts obviously are guilty thoughts.
Yep.
Guilty.
All right.
Oh, Voods is in there too, so they're probably
Yeah, who
messing
knows?
with each other.
At some point, Dear Dad is going to give the dogs carrots on this 3-hour podcast, but not yet. He took
Yeah.
the carrots out, and I was like, come on, we're podcasting. And he's like, they're for the podcast. And I
I
was
have
like, oh.
big plans.
Yeah, no, I approve. We'll
But
have
if
to like...
you don't remind me, I'll forget the big plans. And I'll have a pile of carrots at the end.
Okay, so At Ingo Burghardt if you want to encourage GR Dad. Check out OnlyFans /GR Dad.
I wouldn't be totally sad if you forgot about this.
Profits, GR Dad.
So,
You loading the dishwasher.
Step 3 is profits.
Step 2 is film Ingo doing stuff around the house and saying funny shit and post it on the internet. Step 3, profits.
Step 1 is that. Step 2 is the question mark. Step 3 is
Step
profits.
3 is fans will heckin' love it. Step 3, profits.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about some house renovation stuff.
Sure.
As we said, our bathroom was like a crack house.
Again, at the time we were making do, we kept kind of going, this is the way it is.
No, you kept going like that. I would go in there and feel sad.
Yeah.
In the depths of my soul.
And I was like, well, at least, the toilet isn't falling through to the ground floor. There's something. It's not actively leaking water right now. I think that was my thought.
That was about the level that we were
at least it's dry rot.
There was like a shower, right? So not like a tub, like a shower that was tiled, but they were missing tiles. That thing grew stuff. At some point in like the last 6 months, I just it was so disgusting that I spent like 2 days in there like bleaching and scrubbing, and then I pulled out cracked stuff and caulked things just as a stopgap so it didn't look like a biology experiment in there.
And wasn't sort of obviously leaking water through the tiles.
I think it was, the grout was coming off in parts, I'm sure. Because when they came in to redo it, I was like, I know you're going to have to replace part of the subfloor around the toilet because they did a kind of half-assed job when it was leaking through because it was rotting. So they put in this as temporary. They ended up having to replace pretty much the entire subfloor, both layers of it, because everything had leaked.
I think the only thing holding us on the second floor were the tiles, not the actual things under the tiles.
It was not good.
Yeah.
But
anyway, tiling is hard anyway, but this, the shower basin, it has 4 corners, right? And the water would pool in 2 of them, and
it wasn't slope
the deepest
drained.
point was not the drain. The deepest point was some corner, rando corner.
And then it would grow stuff, right? Because it would never dry. Oh, it was terrible. So someone had asked, have you ever told the story of buying this house? And I think we sort of have. That I really was we need to have a house in the Keys, and was stalking Zillow. This house was on the market for 9 months, and it's made out of concrete, so no hurricane damage. It's on the open water.
And it was cheaper than all the other open water houses.
A third cheaper.
You knew this from stalking Zillow, yeah.
I knew literally every house that sold. And I was like, why is this house cheaper and not selling? And it's because basically the people who built it in the 90s still lived here, or the husband had died, the wife still lived here. She was older, which is why there's an elevator. And they had not done a damn thing to the place except hoard stuff.
Yeah, I think that's it.
They were both hoarders.
Including cats. Well, they had 2, but it was...
Were there just 2?
I think there were 2 alive at the time.
Yeah. There's cat everywhere. And look, we're used to living with a dog everywhere, and it was way worse than that.
Well, for you, it's much, much worse, too, because you're allergic to cats.
But just the dirtiness from the cats,
mm-hmm.
right? There's fur on stuff all the time here.
There are still nooks and crannies, behind the water heater or something, where there's occasional cat fur.
Oh my God. Everywhere. And cat pee on stuff. Everything was broken. One level of broken or another.
Yeah. And if it wasn't broken, it was just dirty.
It was
grungy.
Filthy, broken, not obviously the toilet, neither of the toilets worked right. You could flush them, but the flange was broken on the guest room toilet. Water would come out underneath, right? Because the house is elevated. So you can stand under and you'd flush it, and then water would come down.
Which is really scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the best the realtor could say was, "It's got good bones." He must have said that.
It didn't, though. It had termites, which we had to. Which is it's a different thing down here than it is
and then he
up
said
north.
termites aren't a big deal down here. Everyone has them.
Everybody gets them. So we have dry wood termites down here in Florida, which don't do the damage of termites that you have in other places. But
they're lazy, like everything else in the Keys. They're it'll take us a few years to eat this house.
You have to tent the house with the yellow and red circus tent. And you see them every week, right? There's a tent set up somewhere because they just come, right? They fly all over the place, and then kind of every 10 years you have to retreat for them. And So there wasn't a lot of damage, but there were termites and everything. Everything was broken. That's how we bought this house, is that we could afford it.
And
because
there
everything
was the
broken.
landscaping was crap.
There's nothing.
I mean, it was nothing.
It still looks barren.
It was kind of barren but wild. Like, it was a bad combination of neither simple and well kept, but elegantly simple.
It was just neglect.
Yeah,
the
neglect.
landscaping was empty,
There was like
but
a
also neglected.
15-foot cactus that was 30 feet around that like just threatened everyone's life.
But that was like the only thing. There's like a
Yeah.
couple palm trees.
There was a random like walkway to nowhere that started
Literally.
at the mailbox and went 10 feet into the middle of the lawn and stopped at a rock.
At a
There's
rock.
Nothing there. There was no gate. There was no anything. It was just a little walkway.
No.
It was really weird. Oh, and we found out they used to have a dock, but let it just after it had an accident with some boat, right?
They took the insurance money and then just didn't fix it.
They let it just float away.
So we've had to do a ton of work on this house, like we've had to replace the air conditioner and the water heater, and we just replaced the fridge. The stove is okay. The dishwasher's barely limping along. We did the one bathroom. We're going to have to do the other, but there's just so much to do that we have to do it in chunks because it's expensive. So that's all to say. We redid the bathroom. Thank God, because that thing, it's like the one room in the house we didn't paint. When we bought the house, we came here for a week. We bought a mattress. It was the only furniture in the house.
And then we bought 5 gallons of white paint.
Yeah, and we painted everything. We painted the ceilings, the walls, everything with the same paint. I guess we painted the cabinets turquoise.
Yeah, that's right.
That is what we did for a week. All we did was paint.
Yeah, it was a lot of work.
It was not the most fun work.
But it made a huge difference
yeah.
already. I mean, that's sort of how bad it was, is that painting everything white made us so much more feel like it's a livable house.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was disgusting. But we didn't paint the bathroom because we were like, we need to fix this as soon as possible. So whatever, 2.5 years later, we finally get it fixed. So we put in, as I have mentioned on the podcast, a jetted tub, a luxury I never thought I would have in my life, which actually wasn't even that expensive. It's not that much more.
Which is a tub with jets and
Yeah,
bubbles.
a whirlpool tub. Oh, it's
Yeah.
really nice. So as I think I've mentioned, I started taking baths every night, fill the tub up, get in there, put the little jets on, whatever, have a seltzer water, and like just really nice. So I was trying to, this is a real adulting podcast. We also have mentioned we have a financial advisor now, and since we spend a lot less money than we make, which is a good way to live your life. But she's like, okay, so I want a kind of rough sketch of a budget for you guys. Not that she needs like all the details, but sort of just like, what are your outputs every month? I was like, I have no idea. It's just so much less than we make.
We just pay our bills.
We just pay the bills and then stash everything else away. I'd be real stressed if we were trying to spend all that money, especially because it comes in erratic spaces. So,
Right.
So we, even though it's really nice living in tropical paradise, we're not actually living a very lavish lifestyle. No. So I've been trying to like, okay, here's our recurring monthly expenses, all of this stuff. And we've been adjusting things. Like we finally cut our cable.
We weren't watching TV anymore.
And
so we said, why
everything.
are we paying for the TV? Because it turns out TV is a big chunk of the bundle that you buy, right?
Yeah, I mean, our bill is gone from $260 a month to $60 a month for the internet, which is pretty good. So I've been like, just kind of, okay, here's what the average monthly bill is for all of this stuff. And I was looking at our water bill, and it's like, now water's expensive here in the Keys because they have to pipe it down from the mainland. So our regular water bill is like $90.
A month, though, right? Not every 3 months.
A month.
Some places have every 3 months.
Yeah. $90, $120, whatever, $130. And then last month it was like $240. It went up like not quite double, but close, because I've been taking baths every night. It's like a huge amount of water to fill.
Oh, yeah. Think of the 10-gallon buckets that you put in there. Yeah.
So much water. So I was like, oh, I don't need to take one of these. I mean, not that, like, we can absolutely afford me to take a bath every night, but it's just like, oh, I didn't realize that I was like, it's more like, geez, I'm using a lot of water. So then I was like, because Inga was like, oh, is it because I'm watering the plants? I was like, no, you've been watering the plants. I'm like, what we need to do is have it so you can use my bath water to water the plants, because I get down there and just, I don't soap, like I take a shower to clean myself.
Even soap is good for plants. It's fine, yeah.
So I'm like, what we need is to like channel the water out of the tub so you can water the plants with it. I'm like, so, the house is elevated, right? So I can literally see the pipe that comes out that drains the tub. I'm like, what I need to do is like drill a hole in that and tap it. And I'm like, then you can use that water. I'm like, oh, we can get a 55-gallon drum and we can drain the tub water into that. Plus, then if we ever have to hide a body, we have a 55-gallon drum. And your dad's like, I think the 55-gallon drum will be more useful for the water than a body. I was like, you say that until we have a dead body to deal with and then that 55-gallon drum is going to be really useful.
Oh, this is just something. You and your true crime thing. I've now seen some of the serial killer documentaries and stuff that you have watched and read. And there are bodies in 55-gallon. I mean, this is a thing.
It's totally a thing.
If your neighbor wheels a 55-gallon drum out to the
70% chance there's a body.
70% chance it's a body. There's not oil in there. There's not water in there. It's a freaking body.
Yeah.
Just call the cops and have them check it out. Or if you're real adventurous, take a look.
God, I would totally look.
Yeah, you would. Anyway, that's a thing with murders. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So unfortunately, I don't think we're going to find a way to do this.
The thing is, we could do it, but there's a high chance there'd be leakage.
We could totally do it if we brought a professional in, and it would be a sort of normal thing here. Like there's plenty of houses that are not hooked up to the water; they're on cisterns.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure a lot of them have gray water systems for like watering your lawn. and doing
they
stuff.
have. Because we don't even have full gutters, right? We have gutters only on one side of the house.
So it doesn't
splash on your head as you're on the porch in the front. Yeah. So we could put gutters around and do a full gray water system.
Yeah.
Once we win the lottery. Yes.
We also have that and solar panels on our list for like fun environmentally conscious projects.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we need to.
Yeah, we have a solar water heater booster on the roof, but it is no longer hooked up because when we bought it, it wasn't working.
No, we'd have to unplug it. I eventually had put a timer in there because it would make these weird whirring noises at night.
It would.
It didn't make any difference in the electricity cost. I don't think it was working.
I think it was set up to pump water.
I think they pump water up to the roof and it gets solar heated up there and then it pumps back into the water heater.
What a dumb idea. Then you have hot water when you don't need it in the morning or something. I mean, just so weird. Anyway.
Yeah. So that's my great idea. So putting in a gray water system would be super cool. I'd be way into that. I would love it.
Yeah.
But oh my God, we do need to win the lottery. We need a lot of money to do
do the basics first. Inside first, maybe then that, because it's cheaper to do $100 a month for your bathtubs than put in a whole gray water system.
I would say the top projects on the list in order. One coming soon is the seawall, which is going to be a project we'll be bitching about for a long time when they do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be good. We're going to get a dock.
Yeah, but they're going to need excavators and
it's
big
gonna be
rocks are going to be moved and whatever.
Oh, it's going to take a long
equipment.
time too.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard, and it's going to be there are places you can buy a house for what it's going to cost to put the seawall in.
You
but
have to drive it's like a cement truck.
Erosion is a bitch, man, and rising sea level. We have to do this.
Otherwise the cars will be underwater or something.
The beach is definitely eroding away, and the level of our property is lower than our neighbors.
Yeah.
I think because it's just kind of, they have seawalls, and so we'll get these big floods, and it takes more of the ground out. So it's going to be good, but it's going to be a huge, huge project.
Yeah.
But
we're also getting a dock with it.
We're getting a dock, a wood dock, which is going to be awesome. Dock diving, Guaco-Man, dive off the Docko-Man. That's going to be super cool.
Guac dock, yeah. There's a whole thing there.
But so to do that, you have to get an engineering survey, which I did, and then you have to apply to the Army Corps of Engineers for a permit, which normally takes a year, and then COVID. And turns out the person at the Army Corps who was handling our thing wasn't doing much and then quit. And so then somebody else got it.
Timers.
It's been about a year and a half, and I finally emailed a couple weeks ago, and I was like, could you just check on this? I know it takes a long time in COVID. I just wonder what the status is. And then a couple days later, it's they're like, oh, this and this. And then a couple days later, okay, it's done. We're just waiting for the paperwork. So it probably just got stuck on somebody's desk. But anyway, so those permits are coming. So we're still a ways from this project because then we have to get a seawall company to quote it. And I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff it'll probably be in 6 months, which is good because we got to save up a lot.
Well, there'll be a lot of questions like, we have Lake Queso when it rains. We have a lake in our front yard, and that all drains into the ocean. Is that going to be okay with a
I don't know
seawall?
which way it's supposed to drain. I don't know if it's supposed to drain to the street or to the ocean or.
I mean, right now it drains to the sea,
Yeah.
which means, we need to have like gaps in the seawall to allow water out.
I don't know. I mean, the good thing is like they are professionals
Yeah,
at this,
yeah.
but I could see them going like we have to regrade the whole property
That's
and
right.
all of our grass goes away. And I mean, not the side stuff. That's fine. But
Yeah, that's high enough.
grading under the house, grading the front yard, like they may have to do the whole, that's going to be such a fucking.
Hey, as long as they do it, I don't care.
No, it's just going to be a lot of money.
And yeah, I have this temptation to start doing it myself, and that just is not going to do
Nope.
anything.
Nope.
Like
I'll
my 2 wheelbarrows full of dirt moving from the back to the front or front to the back just isn't going to make
I mean,
a
also,
difference.
especially because you don't know what you're doing.
Well,
right?
I'm
Like-
helping.
You're moving stuff around, but like you don't know if you're moving it the right way.
I have a vague idea that I have a plan being formed.
Like I said, you don't know what you're doing. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was saying it the long way. You were saying it the short way. Sure.
so anyway, that's going to be the next big project, which I'm a little intimidated by it, just cost-wise, but it'll be fine. Guest bathroom. We have the tile picked out. We literally have the vanity downstairs in our like little
Oh, yeah.
enclosure waiting.
We have all the easy stuff done. Yeah.
They basically, I mean, but the rest will be easy. I'll be like, put in a shower, get this toilet from Home Depot and install it all. I mean,
We're doing a shower there, right? Like a walk-in
Yeah.
shower, not a bathtub.
Right, a shower there.
I think that's fair for the dogs to walk in and get showered.
It'll be a little, I mean, the downstairs one is good, but sometimes we do need to do it up here and
Yeah.
it'd be nice to have that. So,
Because you can't always drag Voodoo over the edge of the bathtub. Because
like the
he's
dead
like
fish.
he's like some kind of giant heavy snake.
So that we got to do, and then eventually we will do the kitchen. Like I really like the cabinets and stuff, but like the countertops are kind of, it's everything
60s.
in here. is-
Formica, I think, is the substance. Formica.
Maybe. I mean, they're just plain white, but they
Yeah.
are, yeah.
Thank goodness they're white and not fake wood or something where it's like more
So
problematic.
ugly. Yeah. Everything in this house was kind of contractor deal cheap,
Contractor
In
grade, which is the
1995.
basic.
just the cheapest
There
ass
was the hollow
version.
doors, right? The
Yeah.
not even complete doors, just like hollow.
So
No.
we're doing one thing at a time to make
The-
it better.
It's true. I mean, this is to the windows, right? The
You are now free to talk about the windows as much as you want.
sliding glass doors. Whenever the wind blew, they didn't seal all the way, so
The
it
wind
whistled.
howled.
It would howl. It would howl, and you could, if you adjusted the 3 doors just right, if you like opened 2 a little bit and closed the other one, you could change the frequency of the howling to make it more palatable. And sometimes you could stop the howling for a little bit, but then as soon as the dog wanted in and out, the whole thing would start again, and it would do the what's that sound? Yeah, it was.
That's pretty close.
It was
actually.
very close, yeah. So we got kind of used to it, but it was not pleasant. For me, I just thought like the house is not airtight, not watertight, not secure.
When it rained and the wind blew against the front door,
It's true.
water would come in under the front door. And if it was windy and blowing against the front door would move. The entire frame of the front door would move.
You felt like it was going to
push
open
back
up
in.
anytime soon. Like
Like
Vink
the whole
would,
door would
Vink
come
would
off.
startle out of her sleep and start barking at the front door because it kind of would crack and move like it was haunted. Or
Like
possessed.
I was going to say, it could be that our house is just extremely haunted and we just keep going, oh, it's just another maintenance project we have to do. And the ghost keeps moving
We
around.
just need an exorcism, damn it. We don't need all these repairs.
I will note that like it wasn't until after we replaced the doors that the entry, like the little panel that covers the entry to the attic, literally now lifts itself up.
Yeah.
I posted a video about this on my Jen Runs with Dogs TikTok. I was in my little office, the guest room, and I hear this noise, and I come out. So there's, the little hole up to the attic. It doesn't have a pull-down staircase.
That's right. In a horror movie, it would have a pull-down staircase.
Yeah.
Right. It would be the ladder to the attic, but there's not. It's not that kind of attic, and there's no ladder.
You need like a step ladder, and then you go up. But there's like a big rectangle, and it's got a kind of plywood panel
Yeah.
that covers it up. That's painted. But I go and I look up at the panel, and it's just lifting itself up. I mean, it like at a 45
Like
degree
a
angle.
coffin lid.
Yeah, it's not hinged or anything. It's just kind of,
Floating.
set up in there. And it just lifts up and bangs back down. That didn't happen
No.
before we replaced the doors. We replaced the doors and suddenly the attic entry is banging itself around. So the ghost is like, oh, I can't howl at you through the doors. Okay, bitches.
I'm not strong enough for the doors, but I can bang on this attic
Here's
lid.
what we're going to do.
That's
Yeah,
true.
That's
true.
the thing that happens now.
Could be aerodynamics, but also could be ghosts.
Ghosts. I'm going to go with ghost.
Definitely could be ghosts. There's some weird noises. Yesterday we were sitting on the porch and we thought someone was walking around underneath us.
I heard that again today too. There was nobody down there. I was yelling. I'm like, I have a gun. This is Florida. You better watch out.
Yeah.
Didn't deter anyone. We went down. There was nobody there.
No, and it wasn't Voodoo either, although it could have been. Sometimes Voodoo falls asleep
no,
down
he was
there.
up here.
We forget about him.
So,
Yeah, you
yeah.
got that.
House renovations.
House renovations. I'm gonna get the dogs carrots. Hang on.
Okay. You
Don't hang on. Do whatever you're gonna do. I don't know, do your thing. It's your podcast.
I will say that like my strategy with both. So I have bought 2 houses in my life. This house and my Maryland house. My strategy with both of them is buy the house that's falling down, and then because then I can afford something in kind of a nicer place. But my house in Maryland looked pretty haunted too when I bought it. The paint was peeling off the siding. It had asbestos siding, and the windows didn't seal right, and everything was broken. But I could afford it, and then I just fixed one thing at a time, and it was livable, and it was fine.
You're a very skinny little carrot.
All right, I'm going to pause while we finish carrot time. All right, let's just take a moment to listen to the background crunch.
Real life recording of a piece of timber with termites in it.
Okay. Any other house renovation stuff you want to talk about, Inko?
No, I think the storm windows are cool. They're super solid.
Mm-hmm. There's great videos on YouTube of people hitting them with sledgehammers.
We have not and won't because I
we
like
will not.
mine.
Yeah. They will eventually crack,
Yeah.
but they won't break and let hurricane blow into your house.
Right.
Yeah.
Painting the outside of the house, we didn't really do it, but it looks real nice, real crisp. If you only have $400 or something invested in painting,
Yeah, it does look a lot
you
better.
don't need to do much else in your house but paint. Like we just painted our cabinets. They're the same kind of old crappy cabinets, but we put new hardware on the doors and painted them, and they got remarkably better.
Yep.
I did that in my house in Virginia too, where it was like they were brown,
Oh man, I harassed
Crappy,
you for a long time to do
dated,
that.
and just painting them white and putting on new, handles, hardware.
Made a huge difference.
Made a huge difference. Makes it look much fresher.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are probably realtor tricks too, but if you got to live there, you kind of like it too.
Yeah.
Or what did you find? Like we had the old dishwasher. We still have the old crappy dishwasher.
I'm so proud of this.
Yeah, but what did you find? Yeah.
So our dishwasher, all the appliances were mismatched because I think stuff broke and then they'd replace. The dishwasher is clearly original from the 90s.
Oh
It-
yeah.
It's just barely holding on. I mean, it cleans the dishes.
But it's very loud and it's just interesting.
If you open it at the weird time, it leaks. And it's like black on the edges, and then like almond,
Yeah.
like that. It's not yellow. It's
not
kind
white.
of tan.
Yeah.
The ugliest kitchen color. Very 90s. And I was like, I cannot live with this. It just makes me sad to see it. But I was like, man, it's gonna be, and especially when we bought the house, right? I mean, we took all of our available money and put it into the down payment on this
we
house.
were scrimping a little bit. The coins in the sofa.
That's sort of always, I mean, literally, I think I took my buckets of change and we cashed them in.
Yeah.
Yeah. At both times I've bought when I bought my house in Maryland and we bought this house, it's been like that, where it's like
Yeah.
every penny is going to like hit that 20% down payment. And it's like, okay, I mean, we can replace the dishwasher, right? We still earning money,
Right.
but like, God, there's so much other stuff to do. So I found on Amazon stainless steel, basically contact paper, like a
Yeah.
sticker that's stainless steel. And so it comes in like a wrapping paper style roll, and it's got like little marks, just like contact paper on the back, like a little grid. So you very carefully
You can cut it to really precisely, right? With
yeah,
the grid.
you just cut it with scissors. So it looks just like the stainless steel front of an appliance.
And it matches the oven and the microwave, so that it matched something already. It didn't match the refrigerator, but you had like 2 out of 3 things matching now.
Yeah. And I was like, look, this stick-on stainless steel, like it could look super ratchet and crappy. Let's just try it. And I put it on and I was like, it totally looks like a stainless steel dishwasher.
It
like,
looks fine. It is like not the
looks fine.
ugliest thing we have in the house anymore.
No, so it's like that dishwasher is staying until it breaks,
Yeah,
basically.
which
'cause
may happen any day now, but it's, you know, every day is another not having to spend $1,000 or whatever dishwashers cost these days.
Yeah. So it's good, and I love that I was just able to buy whatever $13 roll of stainless steel contact paper, very carefully and precisely cut it, very carefully stick it on there with care that I do not normally put into my projects. It looks great. It turned out so good.
We did just break down and get a new refrigerator.
Yes. I'm super pleased with the new fridge.
I am too, yeah.
And we moved the old one downstairs into our little enclosure space because we really need 2 fridges between like dog
Yeah.
stuff and
We sort of have the weird combination of small household, so we don't eat everything right away. We don't like drink all the milk right away, and we
Right.
got to keep things a long time in the fridge. And we got leftovers and stuff, but we didn't have, you know, the freezer out in the the meat freezer in your garage or whatever. We just had a one side by side refrigerator, and both sides were overflowing.
always just packed.
I mean, I would take out like, you know, in order to get at the orange juice container, I had to move 3 different containers, and in the freezer, everything was stacked like bricks. So if you wanted like the bottom one, the top things you'd risk a collapse at all times, and things would fly out and hit your foot, and it was just
A lot.
cans would explode on the ground. It was
And,
very
like-
dramatic, unnecessarily dramatic.
Since I'm a vegetarian, right? And when we are at home, we eat vegetarian.
Yeah.
I mean, you're fine with it.
Yeah,
I buy a ton of fresh produce, which takes up a lot of space.
it
like,
does. It
that
doesn't squish.
fit in the crisper drawer. I buy like 2 heads of cauliflower.
Yeah,
Well, that's like half a shelf.
that is a whole compartment. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but like the cilantro, right? We put it in a glass of water, or
Yep.
so it stays longer. Hot tip: put it in water; it'll last longer even in the fridge. But now we have 2 fridges, which makes a big difference. Like we can keep stuff downstairs if we want to in the staging fridge,
yep.
kind of like the beer fridge. It's not exactly a beer fridge. But
There's some beer in it, though, I think.
yeah, but it's more important that there's also a freezer down there that we can keep stuff in
For sure.
that really takes the pressure off this. I mean, this freezer was.
Oh, it was not.
There was no air, which they say is very efficient, right? You got to fill all the air, and that means that the cooling efficiency is very high. But there was no air.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're very good about cleaning it out and cycling it through. So it's not like we had 6-year-old, was it 27-year-old walleye in there or anything like that, right? There's nothing like
Bluegill.
Nothing that weird. I'm making a reference here.
I think we may have talked about this on some older podcast. So my paternal grandfather died when I was in high school, and he and my dad were really close. And my grandfather was a big fisherman, like outdoorsman in general, but he loved to fish. And apparently he had given my dad like some Ziploc bags of bluegill fillet. So if you're not from the Midwest, bluegill is sort of
It's not a highest quality fish.
not the highest quality fish. I mean, I don't like fish, but bluegill it's sort of like the thing you can catch as a kid, kind of like
I think
there's
it's a
little
bluegill trout.
sunfish.
Is that? I mean, I don't.
There's
think-
not a trout.
It's not a trout.
Now I'm gonna have to Google it to
Yeah.
describe it better. But it's a pretty small fish. Like it'll fit in your palm. Freshwater fish. Let's see. Also sometimes called a sunfish. I know they got real wicked little spikes on their dorsal fin because I got spiked by those things all the time. But it's just kind of like a lake fish.
It's not exciting.
It's not exciting. It doesn't taste all that good, but it's edible.
There's a reason you don't have them in restaurants.
Yes, you would not get bluegill at a restaurant.
Yeah.
And but they were kind of all over the place where we grew up, and you go out fishing and you catch whatever you catch, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you catch a bass and sometimes you catch a bluegill.
Yeah.
And so you can fillet them and you get these like teeny tiny little, like chicken finger sized fillets out of them. But my grandpa had given my dad some Ziploc bags of bluegill fillets, it was probably the death of 100 fish in those bags. It's like 2 little
It
Ziplocs.
was like a pound.
Yeah. Before he died, he'd given those to my dad. So like 25 years later, my parents have...
And they were in the freezer.
They were in the freezer, and my parents have they have a basement freezer, right? A bonus freezer that's way bigger than our
It's
fridge.
a standing up one, though.
It's a standing up
It's not
one.
like the meat freezer kind where like bodies are always found later, right? With the,
But it's like more than 6 feet tall. Like it's big.
It's a big one, yeah.
Big giant one. They also have a bonus fridge. Like I think my grandma's old fridge from
That's
the 50s.
from the 50s.
with,
I was
like,
going
the
to say that's
handle.
all rounded, like
It's
those
super
50s
cool.
cars. Yeah, yeah.
But
It's right.
yeah.
It has the handle, the big lever handle where you open
The one
it.
where if you get stuck
Yeah.
in that fridge, you're going to die because you can't open the door from
Oh,
the
right.
inside.
Well,
Don't go in the fridge.
don't beat meat.
Don't be that guy. So anyway, yeah, somewhere in the back of that freezer, because like my dad is a hunter, right? And so if he he goes deer hunting. If he gets a deer, that's a lot of meat that you need to freeze somewhere.
Can't eat it all in one night because
No. So that's it becomes sort of necessary to have a freezer that big.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the depths of that freezer, this is 15 years ago maybe, they found these bluegills from my grandfather. They were maybe 15 or 20 years old at the time. They had been in the freezer for 15 or 20 years. And my dad's like, we're going to totally make some of these for dinner. And so he thawed them out. It was just like a lump of giant stuff. Thawed them out.
And it was freezer. I mean, there was
Oh,
frost
so
in there.
freezer
and stuff.
burned.
It was not. It didn't look particularly promising.
He went to Farm and Fleet, which again, if you're from the rural Midwest, you know Farm and Fleet. It's not the Fleet Farm. Farm and Fleet. They have a grocery aisle, which is quite limited in its selection. But one of the things that they have is fish breading.
Oh yeah,
If you want to fry fish.
But they also have a fashion aisle and a
You
tractor
can
aisle
get
and oil.
You can buy tires and oil. You can buy 55-pound bags of corn.
Flannel.
Definitely can buy flannel.
Overalls. You can buy overalls.
I think my dad buys most of his clothes at
and
Farm
coveralls,
and Fleet or
jeans.
Menards.
I'm sure it's
Yeah, I mean,
working person's clothes.
It's like before you
Farmer.
had Walmart.
Yeah.
If you lived in the country, where are you going to go buy your stuff? If you're working
That's right. You're not gonna. There's no there's no
or a
department
Target.
stores.
If you don't have a department store around,
That's true.
They had kind of the basic stuff there.
That's true.
So anyway, he goes in there
It's
and
breading.
gets breading for it. And yeah, so, dip them in milk and
I bet
egg
he
and
was super
breading.
excited because he's not usually the cooking guy.
Oh, he
This is
almost
like
never cooks. Yeah.
an interesting project for him, right?
He's going to do it. So he, puts in the milk and then the eggs and then the breading from Farm and Fleet,
Yeah.
fries them in a little pan, and they made a video of them eating it. And my dad's like, oh, yeah, good. And then he's like to my mom, come on, try some. And she's like, you can tell she's like, I don't want to eat
She
this.
knows about
It's gonna be
salmonella
bad.
and botulism.
But
and
also
stuff.
oh, it's going to be all tough and also freezer
Ugh.
burn. And I am impressed that she got that down without gagging. She may have gagged.
She
didn't
was not
spit it out.
enthusiastic about it like your
Not
dad. She couldn't
enthusiastic.
feign the enthusiasm.
I
I
think-
think he was just happy he didn't die, and it was vaguely food shaped.
He thought it was great. My dad has no worries about it. He's like, there's mold on it. Just cut that part off. It's fine.
I'm further in his corner. We have had struggles.
We have
about
fights
this.
over this where
Yeah.
I'm like, absolutely not. You may not eat the expired thing.
I'm just those are just suggestions, and it looks fine.
And I'm like,
and
throw it away.
you're like, this egg smells funny, and I'm like, it smells like an egg. It's fine. I'm gonna eat it. They all smell like sulfur.
There are times where I have seized food and brought it out to the trash can because I
Yeah.
know Inga will eat it otherwise.
Seized. You've intercepted. Yeah.
There's one time, so
I'm better about this now, though.
before we
I've
moved,
conformed.
before we came down here to the Keys, our coming down to the Keys and the pandemic coincided with Ingo's daughter going to college.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, obviously we had this house here, but we were mostly up in DC, and Ingo had custody of her part-time. And so we both had our separate houses. And when Ingo had custody of his daughter, they would be at his house and I would stay in Maryland.
Right.
And
That was in Virginia, and we were in Maryland.
yeah. So I like to say I shared custody of Ingo with his daughter. So he'd be at my house or he'd be in Virginia with her. And so he didn't see her it wasn't like every other day. I think it was every other
Weekends,
weekend
yeah.
or on a lot of weekends. So he'd buy food for his house, but he'd only be at his house for like
It
2
was the
days.
I mean, I love going grocery. It's extreme mismatch. I love going grocery shopping, and I love picturing things I'm going to make and stuff and that I need, but I don't eat it all, and I certainly didn't there, right? So
No, that's right. Like
I
you're-
would shop like I was going to eat for a week, and then I was going to eat for 2 nights, and then not again for 2 weeks.
It's like Friday night, Saturday night, occasionally Sunday night, and you guys got takeout all the time. So
oh yeah,
you basically
no, we
were
totally
making
screwed up.
one
We're
thing.
like, let's get Chipotle. All right, fine.
Yeah. So at some point he had bought, was it ground beef? Do you remember?
I'm sure it was also ground beef. I think there was some chuck roast in there. I mean, I had some meat in the freezer that was in the freezer for a while.
No. This was in your fridge, and it was past the expiration date. And
Oh.
It was a little bit gray.
That's just air.
And he was like, I'm going to make this. And I was like, do not make it. You are going to die. If you get lockjaw, at least I won't have to listen to you complaining, but I don't want to hear it. Like, no, do not eat it. And I don't know if you ended up eating it.
I
You
don't
did
know.
cook it.
Did I?
You absolutely cooked it.
Oh.
And then I think you were like, oh, no, this is really not okay.
If it tasted bad, I wouldn't have eaten it. I mean, I
Yeah.
do have that filter, but I'm much more willing to try it,
But today,
taste it.
today we were doing the Instacart, like putting stuff in Instacart to go pick up at Publix. And I was like, I was sitting on the couch, Ingo's in the kitchen, and I was like, okay, like, what do we need? I'm like, what's the status of the bagged salads that we have?
Because we like eating bagged salads these days.
We
yeah.
the bag salads they have are all the time. Like the Taylor Farms bag salads are really good, and
Yeah.
they've got varieties of those, but they go bad randomly, right?
They
Like
do.
even well before the expiration date. Like, I think it depends on how they've been transited
It's
and
not
whatever.
always the same kind of mix of lettuce. Like sometimes it's more one kind and some kind. I mean, it's just very nature.
Yeah, but you can get one that like is a week before the expiration date, and you look at it and it's kind of slimy in the bag.
It
like
does, yeah. Or some of them expand.
Or
Like
they
there's
get puffy.
clearly some, I think it's fermentation going on,
Yeah.
where they're like all of a sudden just like rock hard
puffy bag.
puffy bag, which is never a good sign. Like when the orange juice container does that, that's bad too.
Yeah. So I'm like, Ingo, what's the status of the salads? He's like, none of them are puffy. And I was like, this is not the only basis to judge.
I think I also said they're good till the 28th.
And I was like, look at them and tell me if they're slimy.
they were not
are they
slimy.
wet?
They were not slimy or puffy.
There was an episode of
Puffy.
Hoarders.
They're not talking yet.
So Hoarders is a show that I used to watch a lot, and now I'll occasionally watch.
Because it's always the same thing, and it's sad.
It's really sad, and what they do is not really helpful to people who. I mean, hoarding is such like a really complicated, difficult problem.
Yeah.
I remember like early when I was seeing my therapist telling him that I watched this show, and he's like, "That show's terrible. Like that's not how." Because he treats a lot of people with OCD, which
Oh
is
yeah,
kind of
because the premise is that you clean the house out and then everything is fine and it's a happy end, and it turns out
yeah.
it doesn't fix the people.
I mean, they pick people who are in these cases where like they've had 18 reports from the county, and the county's like, we're coming to inspect your house on Saturday, and if it's not cleaned out and like up to fire code,
Livable.
yeah, like we will arrest you and take you out of the house and condemn it and knock it down. And so they have like 4 days to do the thing, right? So they kind of pick these cases where literally the only option is like throw shit out.
Yeah, and these are the people like they don't have a path to the bathroom anymore. Or
Yeah.
their kitchen hasn't worked for 2 years, and it's just like it's so sad. It's just so sad.
It's very sad. But there was one episode of that where they, and the formula of the show, and frankly, I think the formula of people who have kind of reached that really terrible point with their hoarding is that they think everything is valuable.
Mm-hmm.
There's specific kinds of hoarders, but
There's
the
a
kind
reason why they can't let go of stuff.
whatever the thing is, right? These broken plastic hangers, like I could use those for this thing that they're never going to do.
And it's almost always stems from some trauma that they had. I mean,
Absolutely.
this is a pattern in the show that I've realized,
Yeah.
right? It's like someone's dad died, or someone was forced out of their house or estranged from their parents, and then that after that it got real bad,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's clearly more than just laziness or like
for
an
sure.
inability to to throw things out, right? I mean,
Yes,
like,
it's
it
not.
doesn't,
I don't know where to
it
start.
doesn't apply to normal life as much, right? This is a severe mental break.
It's a disconnect.
Right? It's a
for
real
sure.
disconnect. Yeah.
Yeah, where it'll be like, okay, your house is infested with roaches and mice, right? This happens all the time in these
Oh, yeah.
cases. And okay, so we've like dug down to like the third layer. All right, we found this bookshelf that you hadn't been able to access before. And we have to throw all these books out, right? All these textbooks we have to throw out because they're soaked with
half-eaten
rat
or
pee
rat
and
urine. Yeah.
yeah, and there's like bug droppings on them. I mean, they're disgusting, right?
We're
And they're
even we're being we're being surface level. It gets much worse. Actually.
it gets much worse,
Gets
yeah.
much worse.
But they're like, but that's a really good book. Like that book cost me $100 when I bought it for class.
I was
And-
going to read that, or I mean, this
Yeah,
is
it's one
so-
of my favorite books. Oh, I collect that. And it's like they just can't see. It's like moldy and soaked in rat pee. Like you can't even open it. It's got like cockroaches crawling out of it. And they're like, but like that's a really valuable thing.
Yeah.
So that's just to say there was one episode where there was a woman who they were trying to go through the stuff from her kitchen, and sort of food hoarding or variations of that is a pretty common element of
Yeah.
this, where there's a lot of people who shop a lot, like they'll go to thrift stores or they'll do it with groceries. And so they'll just have a ton of stuff. And
Yard
so
sales.
Yeah. So she's got all this canned food. And they're like, this can of beans expired 7 years ago. She's like, well, it's not puffy. It's not puffed out yet. And so it's okay. Like, I'm sure it can't hurt me. And they're like, you can die from eating this can of beans. It puffing out is not the only indicator of whether or not it's safe to eat. And she just could not get that. She's like, it's not puffy.
I mean,
so
I
it's
think
fine.
I heard somewhere that the only time you ever get botulism is from cans that got dropped that are bulgy.
Oh, no.
I think that's the only way you get botulism.
Have you seen that commercial? There's an old commercial for Game Show Network, which I don't know if is even on the air anymore.
I don't know. We don't have TV anymore.
So there was a channel called Game Show Network, which may or may not still exist. And they had some like new game shows, but they also would replay like old school game shows.
Yeah.
Right. And
Of which there are
so
infinite.
many.
Infinite.
so they one of the commercials for Game Show Network when they were starting out was all of these people, like a dude in his hospital bed and some people in a break room and somebody in the appliance store yelling botulism. so it just cuts to like guy in his hospital room going like botulism. Some woman like sitting in her kitchen just looks at the camera and she's like botulism, and like three people like in Best Buy going botulism, and it's just like this escalating chorus of people yelling botulism, and you're like, why are they all yelling botulism? And then it cuts to like guy in a game show set and he's
Family
like,
Feud.
what is typhoid? And it's like bah! And everybody's like because all the people are being upset. Every time I hear botulism I think about that commercial because it's very funny. On Twitter, I'll post it in the comments of this. I know it's on YouTube.
Anyway, so to get the curve, to get the corner back, when you helped me get rid of stuff in my old house, there were a lot of cans and a lot of things that were expired or like surprisingly old.
We can talk about that to the extent that you're comfortable, because I know you were a little embarrassed about things.
I'm
Your
not
dad is
embarrassed.
not a
It was
hoarder.
fine. I would have eaten that stuff.
Not that part, just cleaning out your house. That
Oh.
weekend I came over, we cleaned out your house.
I'm a pack rat. I love the idea of having like the workroom full of old wood. I mean, if I had the space here and I had a workroom, it would be full of crap that I'd be like, oh, now I need a 45-degree, piece of this kind of wood. Oh, here it is. Look at that in the
my
pile.
God.
Yeah, I totally would have that. So I have some hoarding tendencies because it might be useful.
You do say the stuff that hoarders say, but when GR Dad was selling his house in Virginia, so what is this, like summer of
18
2019?
months ago, yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's right, summer of 2019. So before the pandemic.
Fall. Yeah, fall.
I guess you actually sold it at the very beginning of the pandemic, like you sold it March or April. But that's right, we were cleaning it
January.
out. Was it January?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we were cleaning it out.
We didn't know it was going to be pandemic.
No, I'm just like timing wise.
Yeah. But it was fully pre-pandemic. There was
Okay.
no inkling that it would go crazy.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so we were cleaning it out ahead of that because his daughter was going to school. So it's like, okay, he doesn't need this house anymore. So let's sell the house. And so, I never lived there. I mean, I spent 1 or 2 nights ever
Yeah.
at your house. And so I had no say over it, except when Gio Dad got LASIK. So Gio Dad got LASIK a bunch of years ago. And
7 years ago now or something.
yeah. So you can't drive yourself after LASIK because your eyes are all dilated and messed up. So, I drove him
Sliced. They're all sliced.
drove him to LASIK. He gets the surgery. He puts on like the big grandma glasses that they give you. We drive back to his house and then they tell you like take a nap. And part of that's because it's been sort of a stressful day, but also like your eyes are actually kind of sore for a couple hours afterwards. So like take a nap and then you sleep through them being
It
sore.
was not hard for me to
It
take
was
a nap.
very easy. So, which I knew. Giodad's great at taking naps. And so, all right, Giodad is upstairs sleeping. His daughter was at his house and
Playing video games or something. Playing
under the
Minecraft.
stairs of Giodad's house, he had every box with the packaging from Amazon that he had ever received.
Because you never know.
Exactly. And I was like, this is stupid. He will never need these things. He orders stuff from Amazon all the time. I'm throwing these away. So I'm like packing stuff up. And Eva would come downstairs. She's like, do you need any help with that? And I'm like, I'm good. And then eventually I was like, I need to put this all in my car so I can drive it out of here. I was like, Eva, come down. We're going to take this stuff out to the car. And she's like, okay. So like the whole back of my car was like jammed full of like these giant trash bags full of like packaging and boxes from Amazon. It was very satisfying.
I mean, that was a great house because I had this huge basement with nothing in it.
Yeah.
And a garage and a full 2-car garage that was so situated that you couldn't drive a car into the second half. Mm-hmm. So it was just perfect for crap. I mean, I did accumulate a lot of crap.
So I went over to his house. Like he was kind of slowly sorting through stuff. I'm like, you got to get rid of a lot of stuff because like you're going to
like
move
the
in.
full-size hockey goal that I used for 2 weeks where I had the garage like set up with a hockey goal at one end. It was,
Yeah.
And it was like 2 weeks while we were playing hockey. I was like, I'm going to practice my shot and stuff and didn't. But the hockey goal stayed for 5 years.
Yeah. So, for me, it was like, okay, we're going to merge our houses, which isn't a thing that we had to do before.
Right.
Like I have a full complement of house stuff
That you like.
that I like.
And I have stuff that... I have stuff.
I don't want to keep out stuff that you want, but like we have to pick a bed. It can be the bed that's in my house at Maryland or the
That's
bed
true.
that's in your house in Virginia, but we don't have room for 2 beds.
We don't need one on top of the other. Yeah.
No, so like we have to pick one, and like you have a whole house full of stuff,
Yeah.
and you should bring all the stuff that you care about, but my house is like
Like we don't need another dining room table. Like I had a big heavy one in the house that wouldn't have fit in the Maryland.
which I was
house.
gonna say was nicer than mine, but wouldn't have fit in my house.
Yeah, different sizes and different everything's layout.
I mean, Jared Dad's house was maybe 50% bigger than my house.
It was all on one level too, or more on one. It was just a little different layout, and there was a little bit different
Yeah, you had more room
distribution
than me
of room.
though.
I think so.
I mean, my house is 900 square feet.
Yeah,
Yours was probably 13 or 15 or something.
maybe. I had a little bit more of a
I mean, neither of us had big
open
houses,
layout.
but
Yeah.
yeah. But it's like, okay, so your couch is falling apart. We're not going to bring your couch. You broke the Ektorp chair. We're not going to bring the broken chair.
I had broken it before. Yeah, it was cracked open. Yeah.
And so it was sort of like, okay, you have this basement full of stuff, and like, there's like power tools and stuff. Sure, like let's bring those over. But there's a lot. Like you had like 12 crappy suitcases.
Yeah, my parents would come from Germany with 2 full suitcases of stuff. For a while, they were like cleaning out their attic too, and they were bringing
Yeah,
like
giving us their crap.
my old books and stuff. And then they would just leave a suitcase, or and be like, "Oh, we're doing you a favor. Here's a suitcase." Or I had 1 or 2. Like I had a garment bag that I used to use when I traveled with suits and stuff, and so there were old suitcases in the attic because I had ton of space. There was no incentive. I had like old mattress and
You did have old mattresses.
I think this is something that every young person ends up with who gets older is like those metal bed frames that you fold up, that you can expand to make a a queen size or something, rectangle, but they fold up
Yeah.
and they're on wheels. I mean, I had like 3 of those. I don't know why.
Yeah,
but
because they come free with mattresses a lot of the
They
time.
have come with the house or something, and I had 2 to bring in, but I had those, and it was just all this like random weird stuff. Yeah, old rugs probably, and
yeah,
yeah,
and stuff where it's like, did we brought one of your rugs to Maryland?
Yeah, but I had other rugs that just wouldn't have fit. We don't need rug on rug.
Or it's like, or you can switch this one out for that one, but
I think one was an old one that I got from your Maryland house, actually.
I think that may be the one that we brought over actually, and then got rid of the other one. But in any case, Jared had a lot of stuff that was in no way going to fit into my house. In fact, even if I got rid of all my stuff, his stuff wouldn't have fit in my house.
I also had like 3 lawnmowers because one didn't really work, one worked but wasn't as good, and then I had the new one, and then I had a push one.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm coming over. Whatever you want to keep, you tell me. But if you don't know, I'm going to throw it out because you get emotional. Like, this is the, cheap ass suitcase that my parents brought in, 2012 when they visited. And I'm like, I can throw this out if you can't.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly that, but it's definitely things like that. Yeah, I didn't get attached to the suitcases, but the stuff in the garage, like the second chainsaw or something, I'd be like, oh, I kind of like this chainsaw. And, I know I have a bigger, better one now, but I kind of like the old one too. What if the new one breaks?
Let's talk about cleaning out the garage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Go ahead.
The garage didn't look that full.
This is more like the hoarders now. We're turning into trigger warning if you don't like rodents.
So we're in the garage. So it's a 2-car garage. You can fit a lot of stuff in a 2-car garage and not have it look that full. So there was like some Apple machine like from the 1910s
I
in
bought
there.
that with the house because it never got taken out. It was like an Apple peeler or cruncher or
it was
squeezer.
A giant
Apple
machine.
juicer, I think.
All right, so whatever, like that just came with the
It
house.
had like a conveyor belt
there.
and a big flywheel.
Yeah,
it was cool.
It didn't work, unfortunately. It was super cool, but there's like a bunch of shelves with stuff on it, and then there's like piles of he had bought bags of concrete at some point. Fine, well they got wet, so now they're just blocks of concrete.
They're like big bricks, yeah. And I had like gutters that I was going to install but never got around to, and like pieces of wood and
but you had the hockey bag in there.
Also, old hockey bag, yeah, with pads and equipment.
And skates.
Yep.
All right, now, proper hockey skates are expensive.
Old skates. They weren't my new skates.
So I go into the hockey bag, and I'm like, okay, Jared Dad has a full bag. We each have a full bag of hockey equipment in Maryland. Jared Dad doesn't need any of this hockey gear, but we can at least donate it to some place or bring it to Play It Again Sports or something, right? Somebody will be able to use this. So I go into the hockey bag. It smells terrible in there, and I pull out the skates, and like the back heel part of the skates has been eaten by something.
A little hole that is rodent size.
It's big eating by rodents. And Jared Dad's like, but they're still, you could probably still use them. And I was like, no.
I don't think I said that about the skates.
You did not want to get rid of the skates. 100% did not want to get rid of the skates.
Little rodent pee, never really hurt anybody.
And I was like, we have to throw this entire bag out. Something has been eating this.
Yeah, I know what it was.
As we're going through, and there was a bunch of stuff that came with the house, like lamps and like all that stuff in the weird
fans,
old fans, all this stuff. And I was like, we have to get rid of all this.
Yeah, because the house had ceilings that were probably 6'6" high on top. They're not regular. They were the top floor was not regulation. The second floor was added on later, and it was way short. It may have been 6'6" high ceilings, and then the little old lady who lived before me put in ceiling fans everywhere that hang down about a foot.
Would have decapitated.
So it was just decapitation city. I'm 6'2", right? So I could walk. But if the fans were there, I would be hitting the fan blades. So she had fans in every room. There was no air conditioning, no central air. Mm-hmm. So I had to take all those fans out. But of course, I kept all the blades and I kept the whole fans and the blades and then I put it in the side room to the garage. Yeah,
and there's bed frames and I think there was an old mattress in there, some pallets, and I'm like, we have to get all of. None of this is coming to Maryland. You don't need any of this. We have to get rid of it.
That was an easy call. I just hadn't done anything about it because I had space.
So we start moving stuff out, and I don't know what it was that I moved, but I was like, oh my God, like there's a rat in here, not a mouse. It's a rat.
I
And you're
know.
like, there's not a rat in here. I was like, I saw the rat.
Scampering.
Did not believe me. So we continue moving stuff out. And then I was like, Ingo, I want you to look up on that rafter right there, because that's the fucking rat, like hanging out, looking at us move his shit out. It was a big rat.
Yeah, rats are awful.
But just, can we acknowledge there was a giant rat
I
living
know.
in your
I knew I had a
garage.
slight mouse problem in the house.
This rat.
But the rats were new and threatening, yes.
Yeah. So that made it easier to throw everything out that was
Yeah,
in the garage.
because, then it was just a war against the rat.
But the
domain.
basement, I mean, I threw out like Giordad wasn't getting a Christmas tree because it was too much work. So at some point I bought him like the easy, mega pack of like Christmas ornaments, like the instant
Target, or whatever it was. Yeah.
It's like a 3 foot tall like cylinder of whatever, like 4 colors of Christmas
Generic
ornaments.
Christmas ornaments.
Yeah. And I guess you always got a real tree. You didn't have a fake tree. There was like the holder for the Christmas tree. Oh, I have one of those in Maryland. We don't need it.
I may have had 3 of those.
Yeah, you did have multiples of
You
those.
always buy a new one because you can never find the old one. You
I
buy
don't
a
have
new
that problem. So, I'm going through. I was like, look through your basement here.
Yeah.
Tell me if there's anything you see that you really want, and I'm gonna throw the rest of it out. And I promise, if there's anything valuable, I'll keep
I think
it.
I pointed to the erg to keep,
Yeah.
and then everything else was like, eh.
So I was like, this is my responsibility now, and I
Yeah.
kept some of the
The
power
power
tools.
tools. I
and
mean, I think we kept most, there was no, we could use them here, right?
Stuff that
so
we
that
can
was
use,
actually
right.
fair.
Yeah, no, I didn't just.
But I also had
willy-nilly
like a
throw stuff
12
out.
pack of neon bulbs for some reason, where I had like one neon light that was on 30 minutes a month or something because it was over the workbench. And I don't know, my dad had bought that 12 pack once
Yeah.
from Home Depot.
You had like a few IKEA things that you never had installed anywhere.
Like a
Like a medicine
vanity
cabinet or
or something.
something.
That I just never.
And I was like, what? Nobody's going to buy this.
This
We
is
put
because
anything
I-
usable we put out at the curb, and you have an active curb picking community in your
yes,
neighborhood.
turns out way active.
Oh my God. So we put out like, okay, we don't need these chairs. We don't need this. And I put on Craigslist
Very
like
aggressive.
everything at the curb, like it's free.
Yeah.
Come and take it. We put,
Yeah.
decent stuff out there. The suitcases went out there,
like
right?
chairs and
Yep.
you
And
know,
tables
mirror
and-
and just stuff that was we weren't going to
Art.
use, but it was perfectly fine. Yeah,
Quote unquote art.
maybe.
Yeah, and then, but I would also put the trash out there for them to come. So, like, I cleaned out his kitchen, and any food that was still fine from the pantry we brought to Maryland, but all the expired food, which we all build up tons of expired food in our cabinets, I put in trash bags out there. And so I put it out, put up on Craigslist, take anything you want at the curb. And the next day I come back and the trash bags are picked through.
Ugh.
There's trash all over the ground because people just would dump stuff out and took some of
Yeah.
that stuff.
It's a little sad.
I mean, no judgment there. When the pandemic started, our friend Judy, who was in a high risk group, had, she was like, yeah, because she had college age, at least one college age kid, maybe 2, living in her house, and she's high risk, and so she's like, I've rented this Airbnb out in West Virginia, and I was like, go stay at my house. We're not coming back.
Yeah.
It'd be great to have somebody
She,
there.
isolated in Maryland.
I mean, she stayed there for 2 weeks, or
Yeah.
2 months, I think. She lived there for a long time, which was great. She's watering the plants, taking care of the place. We had, been gone for a relatively short amount of time. And so it was great to be okay, somebody's going to be there. And at some point she's like, is it okay with you if I clean out the expired stuff from your cabinets? And I was like, it would be a gift for you to do that. And so there's 7 cans left at the end
but
of it.
before it was we had old refried beans or old black beans, stuff
Just
you
stuff-
have where you're oh, this will be good for tacos someday, right?
Yeah, and I mean, for me, especially with that, it's okay, what am I going to make for dinner? I'm going to make the sweet potatoes with black beans. I better get black beans at the store, and then I buy them and use them. But there's 4 cans of black beans still in there.
In the back of the cabinet. I mean, it just happens, yeah.
Yeah, so she cleaned it all out. But, I mean, same thing. She threw out almost all the stuff. It's really empty now because she threw out all the expired stuff. She also organized my spices, which was super nice. Got a little, stepped shelf thing for them.
Yeah. It's I don't know.
She did a good job.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I like it when you do it better.
Yeah, no, but I was happy with her doing it.
Yeah, same. But it's the same as me. I was happy with you doing it for me. It's nicer sometimes to outsource this stuff.
Yeah, so by the time we finished, I was just piling stuff in. Your dad had this kind of corner of his driveway that couldn't be seen from
You were
the
like
street.
in a frenzy. I mean, it was like a blur. You were on the video, you're a blur that is moving way too fast. I'm walking around like holding my head, looking at stuff.
Like,
Picking
do
like
I keep
I take
this?
like one teapot and I drop it on the pile to be thrown away.
Yeah.
And you've like moved 3 dressers and two AV systems there.
This
You're
is
like,
literally true.
yeah, screw this. We don't need this. The cable box part, we don't need it. There's nothing, the oven, put it out. Don't care.
By the end of the day, I had a pile, and I was like, we can't handle this pile. So I called 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
Yeah, got junk. I think
it
it
was
was
those
literally got junk. Yeah.
They were great. So
Well,
I was
just
like,
took
look,
it.
you guys, we cleaned out the house. We're moving. We cleaned out all this extra stuff from the house. It's in a pile. It's ready to go. Most of it, all the loose stuff is bagged up. Can you just come get it? And they came and they're like, okay, this is a quarter of a truck,
Yeah.
$500. That
It wasn't cheap, but it was gone. I mean,
It was
It
gone.
was done and it was gone.
including the big heavy stuff that was really
it would
hard
have
to move.
taken 20 trips to the dump with a normal
Oh, for sure.
with our cars.
It was great. So they just sent the guys out. We paid them the money. So we worked through Sunday night, and I called them on, probably Sunday night, and I was like,
Oh
come
my
get
God.
it. They came, and when we came back the next week and everything was gone, it was great.
So much stuff.
They
though.
did a
It was-
really good
It
job.
really was just a lot of crap.
But you were shocked at seeing it all out in a piled up like that. Like,
Oh
here's
yeah, it
all
was a
this
lot.
extra
It was
stuff.
very hoarder-like. In fact, I mean, yeah, I had space, so I could still walk. Right, it wasn't like
Oh, your house wasn't
at
a hoarder house
an
at all.
emergency
but yeah.
situation, but it was a lot of crap. Yeah.
You definitely had stuff that you didn't need, but
Yep.
you could have fit twice as much stuff in that house, and it would have looked fine.
Yeah, I mean, I had
Yeah.
look again. I had a half attic, a big garage, and
A lot of stuff
full
that was empty.
full basement that
Yeah.
I wasn't using for anything.
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah, I mean, you're 100% not a hoarder. You may have some pack rat tendencies,
Yeah.
keep that thing because it's good.
And it was just not a priority to throw away all the suitcases, right?
Yeah.
Before the house became a selling item, right? It's like, well, might as well keep it. My parents keep coming; they can bring them, take them back.
Your parents left stuff at your house,
I sent them a whole box of stuff back to Germany.
I was wondering, did we ever mail them that box,
Yeah,
or did
we
we
did.
just pack it up? 'Cause
And
they
they're
had,
like, "Oh, we got it, thanks."
Okay. They had boots and shoes. Your dad had some coveralls that he'd work in. Your mom had a few outfits. They had a teapot.
Yeah, but they also had AAA triptychs for
Yeah.
trips to South Carolina and stuff, and I mean just Rand McNally Road Atlas.
They had a Garmin,
They had a
old school Garmin.
a navigation device that they stopped using, I think, but they might have still used. I mean, it was just a very random collection of stuff, but it was a full box of stuff that they had just kind
A
of kept.
big box.
Golf shoe. Well, we threw away their golf shoes because they didn't golf anymore. But they had 2
Yeah,
golf
we
bags.
did have golf bags. We gave those away to somebody.
I think we donated them or said take them.
Yeah, I think we tried to sell them and just nobody wanted them.
I think it was $200 or something. I mean, it was $100. It was so little. It was almost a full set of Titleist clubs, but they were 20 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, we tried anything of value. I mean,
No.
I love making
The
money on
hockey
stuff,
goal
right?
we just left for people to take. I don't know
Tried
what
and
happened
just
with that,
nobody.
yeah.
Yeah,
Who
somebody
wants
took it. I put it out the curb. Somebody
that's
took
good.
it. Everything that was good in your house went for free to a home of somebody who wanted it.
Yeah.
People took everything from the curb. Some people got, we had your dining room table, which was really nice.
That was
and,
really nice. The chairs.
and you had a Restoration Hardware bed.
Yeah, it was
Super
a
nice.
fancy bed. It disassembled pretty well, but yeah.
You had a few really nice pieces that we wanted to bring down here, and we priced out the cost of having it moved because it was so big that we
Yeah,
couldn't move
even
it
like
in
an
the car.
IKEA shelf, we checked to see if it could be moved down here, and we were going to paint it white, and we had these big plans.
We had that really nice turquoise and blue cabinet that was in the playroom for Eva.
Yeah, yeah.
That which I still loved, but it was gonna cost $3,000 to move the stuff down here, and we're like, we can literally buy all this stuff new again for
Yeah.
$3,000.
And renting a U-Haul trailer to move my old stuff down to a house that may or may not match it. It was just a very big
Yeah.
investment for keeping stuff that I didn't have an emotional. That wasn't like the dresser I grew up with either. Right. I bought it 10 years ago. It wasn't. None of it was my childhood stuff. You know?
No. So like there was some guy. I kept putting stuff on Craigslist and getting very few bites for it. But some guy came for your dining room table. And I was like, look, if you see anything else here that you want, like, we're not moving any of this. Like, you can just have it.
Yeah.
So they took your bed. I was like, we'll just leave it out on the porch.
Yeah,
like, come get it. They were so grateful.
No, that's good.
I think they had like a kid who was, like 20 who was moving out and they were trying to help him furnish his apartment. And so we ended up,
it's so good when there's a match like that, right? Where like someone wants even gently used stuff and has an immediate use for it. And you're just like, I would be throwing this away.
Yeah.
That's such a good like continuation.
It feels so nice.
Yeah.
I would have loved stuff like that.
Well, like the patio furniture here, right?
Yeah, we bought, when we moved in here, we're like, okay, we know we're going to sit out on the porch. Like, that's the most attractive place in the house. But we were broke, as we said, because we spent all of our money on the down payment. So I bought like the cheapest possible like Wayfair patio set just so we could have a place to sit.
Cheapest possible solid stuff. I mean, you could have probably
That's right. It
like
wasn't
freaking wicker or something, but this was better. Yeah.
I mean, it was, $150, $200 for like a coffee table and a couch and 2 chairs. It was pretty cheap. But whatever, it was fine.
Yeah.
But eventually, a year later, it was like, okay, like we've got some money, let's upgrade the patio stuff. So we got a decent patio set, and I put the whole old set out on the curb. And our UPS guy was like, he was lingering out there. Our UPS guy is super nice.
Of course.
He's like, and so I went out, and he's like, I was just sending my wife pictures. We need something like this. I was like, look, if you want it, I'll move it back in so it's not at the curb so nobody takes it. Just
come by.
Give me a call. So he came, I think I gave him my cell phone number. And so he came by at the end of his shift with the UPS truck.
Oh, and that's cool.
Yeah. So we loaded like all the stuff in there. And like the next week I saw him, he's like, oh, like it's so great. Like she bought new cushions for it and like did all this stuff.
Great.
Like he was so happy.
Yeah, that's a good story. That's a good feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. So
like the bed frame. I mean, if someone can use it, that's
it's really nice, right?
It was like practically new. Yeah.
There are the bulk of my life, I would have been so grateful to get like a quality piece of furniture to use that I wouldn't have been. There's no way I would have been able to afford that until sort of recently in my life. So it's good. Yeah.
But like the couch we had to throw away. You don't want to keep a stuffed couch.
No. In fact, remember we put a ton of the furniture out, like the big pieces where it's like, okay, we know we're not going to bring these to my house, but they're fine. And we called the Salvation Army and we're like, hey, here's all this furniture.
They took some of it, yeah.
But the couch, they wouldn't take the couch.
Like, we don't take stuffed stuff or something like that, right?
Because ew, gross.
Well, granted, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, that's a lot of rambling about.
Yeah, let's take a break and I'll figure out what else to drink for myself.
Okay, but we're probably getting close to 3 hours.
Well, we can, decide that on the break.
Okay. All right, taking a break.
Fighting on the break. Okay. Cry a little more. Here's something Voodoo hasn't eaten.
All right, we're back.
He's eating that box.
So while we were on our break, we got an email from someone who adopted one of our foster dogs from 2016, telling us very sadly that he has cancer and doesn't have a lot of time left, maybe another week. And so I was reading to Giordad. I was going back through because it was September 2016.
16. We had 2 dogs.
We just had Hops and Vink. It was before Maggie and Jasmine came.
Yeah. And we'd fostered others, but they weren't
dozen others
intended to be third dogs. We were like, 2 dogs is a lot. We've got a lot. We've got our hands full.
All the fosters we never intended to adopt. And I think we did this guy, and then we definitely had one more who became Bentley. And then I think I was like, you guys, I really need a break. And then we got Maggie and Jasmine.
They were
like,
look at these sweet dogs. It's a bonded pair. Tricked you.
So anyway, so I was going back through. I remembered this dog who came to us as Zeus, but I was trying to remember more about him.
I think we called him Luke, yeah.
We called him Luke, I think. They certainly named him, the people who adopted him certainly named him Luke. We probably tried all kinds of weird names with him. So here's my message.
They were probably the ones where we were like, Jesus? Should we call him Jesus? It's just another deity.
Yeah. So I have these great pictures of him. So I said, "Hi, everyone." So I think he came in. He was really emaciated. He had been starved wherever he was from. Super skinny, like even skinnier than St. Patrick.
Yeah.
I think, just like you can see the hips,
I
and
don't
then
know,
there's.
but he
like,
was so much
nothing.
younger, right? That it was like it was more painful to look at a young, skinny dog. It
Yeah,
wasn't
he's
'cause
7 right now. So he was,
super young. Yeah. 2.
in 2016. Yeah, he was young. So so we get an email when you bring in a dog for foster, and like this is true for Manchego now. There's like a team of people in the rescue who you email about all the stuff with them, and that's
Like
just
the case team.
yeah. So it's like regular updates, also all the medical stuff, anything financial, whatever, all of that goes to them. So I have an email to them from September of 2016, and it says, "Hi everyone, we had a good night. I'm in love with this dog. His puking has resolved. I think he probably had gotten fixed. He'd had surgery. He was in the cone. So, he's burping up some water, but he's fine. The dog is starving and looks really starved because he did. I said, I'm looking forward tonight when I'm cleared to start normal feeding. There's going to be big hearty meals for him. I can't wait." And then, he gets nervous going in and out of doors, but we're handling it. And I said, he's just the sweetest boy ever. I can't believe someone would have treated him so badly. He climbed on the couch and flopped himself over me last night. He was a perfect snuggle bug in bed, and he's having a great time playing with my girls. As you can see in the photo, they get along great. And it's like him laying on Vink's butt on the couch and like Hop's laying on the
Vink
floor.
in her corner, yeah.
And then someone's like, "Oh, what a good picture. I'm so glad he's with you." They said, "I know it's early, but I suspect there may be a foster failure here." And I said, I'm hoping he starts getting crazy or annoying once he's recovered, so I'll want to adopt him out and I don't have to talk my husband into a third dog. And go, "Look, we really need to have a talk. I know 2 dogs is a lot, but I think I maybe want to have 3 dogs."
No, 3 is too many. It's too. Oh, we can't live our lives with 3 dogs. Oh my god.
And the team responds, "You can never have too many Goldens, always room for one more." And somebody else says, "That's true. Most of us have had 4 or more dogs at the same time."
And then we adopted him to someone who already had a dog called Brew Brew, I think.
So he had 2, I think.
But it was like Luke bonded with Brew Brew.
They
Wasn't that, like,
got along great.
At the first visit, like they got along, and he was like they were total buddies.
He's one where I had taken him to a few people, and none of them were bad, right? It would have been fine taking him there. And then I took him to this house of someone who actually she had been the former foster coordinator for our rescue group, I think. And I think they had lost one shortly before. I mean, a ton of people who work in the rescue are used to having a bunch of dogs because you have access to them.
They're awesome.
Yeah. So they may have had 2. Maybe they just had 1. Brewster, I think is his name, his actual name, but they just call him Brew Brew.
Yeah.
Who's obviously a golden. They have a golden doodle now named Tegan, also, who came in through the rescue.
Sneaky.
Yeah, like St. Patrick.
Doodles, yeah.
Tegan's really nice. Tegan needed a ton of medical help too. The foster coordinator had Tegan in her house. She takes on really complicated cases. Like she has one dog whose back legs don't work. Like the dodo has featured this dog, and it had some
like in a
prosthetics.
cart? No,
sometimes
not.
In a cart, yeah, but she'll drag herself around. She has another blind dog who, like, I met at her house at one point. I don't know if I was filling out paperwork or getting a dog chipped, but I went to her house, and this blind dog, like, makes eye contact with you and, like, looks into your soul. And I was like, I want this dog. Like, I'm in love with this dog after like
Hypnosis, yeah.
half an hour. Oh, she's just amazing. She's got a really amazing crew, but really high special needs dogs for her. But anyway, yeah, so I've taken him to a couple places, and then I go to this couple's house.
Yeah, I remember when these first times fostering, you would, like, before you adopted them out, you go to like 6 people's houses. Like they were all over the place, like 2-hour drives, and you'd be like, well, the daughter's kind of irresponsible, and the dad doesn't seem to be bonding, and it was like a really hard emotional project for you to to adopt out these fosters.
I tried to minimize it. So a lot of times I would go to 1 or 2 places, right, where I'd be like, this one really feels like the right fit. There was one couple I went to visit, and I don't know if they were even looking to adopt. I think they wanted to be a foster home, and they had just lost their golden like a week or two before, and I think they were like, okay, we're going to apply to foster, and I was doing the home visit for them. And so when you do a home visit, you bring your dog, and then you kind of go, and there's like a set of questions to ask them, but basically you just get the sense of like if you bring in a dog who's like totally freaked out
You brought
and
like
said whatever.
your hops.
I brought hops.
Yeah.
But if you get a foster dog who's freaked out and unhappy, like, can you bring him to these people, and are they gonna
How are they gonna deal? Yeah.
right? Are they gonna give them the attention they need? And so like one of the questions on the form is like, did they offer your dog water? If they wanted to give snacks, like, did they offer snacks? Did they ask you first?
Right.
Are they kind of aware of this? These were just like the most amazing people. Like I stayed there for like 2 hours. They're like, if you ever need anybody to watch hops, like, just let us know. And I was like, yes. Like, give me your number. Like, I would love for you to watch it. Like, they were so great. Like, there's
perfect dog parents.
Yeah.
You just didn't have a dog at the time for them.
No, yeah, they were. I was like, yes, like, approve them to foster. I hope they got one. I think one of them was from Ireland. Maybe the guy. It was like a husband and wife, and then I think they had a couple kids who were just charming, like high school kids. Maybe just one.
What, did you walk into some kind of catalog life?
And like,
or
I
was
don't
it
like
fake?
kids all that
was
much.
Was it a sitcom?
Oh my God! Like this, I remember this boy. He was probably like 16,
This
and
doesn't
he
sound
was
real.
just lovely.
It doesn't
like,
sound
so
real.
sweet.
It was an
Yeah.
actor.
Anyway, for this dog, Zeus, who eventually became Luke, like, I went to this house of this couple, and the woman had been the foster coordinator, and we went in their backyard, and yeah, he was just chasing around Brew, like, in circles in the backyard. Like, he clearly was
Bonded
just home.
with the dad too, I think,
Oh my
right?
God, the dad loved him.
Yeah.
It was just, they tell you when you're fostering dogs, like, the dog's going to pick their home. And I was like, this is such bullshit.
No, the wand picks the wizard. It's the same
I didn't
thing.
like that. I was like, God, it's such bullshit. But no, with the first dog that we fostered and all the dogs after that, there's one house you bring them to where they're like, yeah, this is where I live. Like, you 100% could do. You don't have to pick anything. Like, they totally tell you.
That's good. And some of them you even did like the double blind, where after the house that you thought was perfect, you took the foster to a few other, or at least one other house, and you were like, nah, not even close, not even, doesn't match.
That's right. And like, they'd be fine in these other houses. It's not that there's anything wrong.
Fine.
The people are nice, like, it'd be great. But there's one house, always there's one house where the dog is like, you just bring him there, and they're like, they climb up on the first dog I had, right? I did like 8 home visits. I drove all over, and I take him into this house, and the dog, she got up on the couch with like the 6-year-old, put her head in his lap, started watching TV with him, where nothing like that at any of the other houses. She just came in, and she's like, oh yeah, I live here.
Yeah, and it's
got
like the
up
right
there.
vibes, right? And they're all comfortable with it too, right? It totally works both ways.
Yeah. And I mean, there have been some really crappy home visits where like one of the people doesn't want a dog. Like
Wasn't it one? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you finish your story, and I'll remind you of the other story.
There was one with a woman who, like, her dog had died. She had like a shrine to their golden who had passed in her house. She wanted a dog. It may have been this first dog so bad. And the rule is that you have to meet everybody who lives in the house, and everybody has to be there. And she's like, look, this is the shrine to my dog that died, just trying everything. And then I was like, okay, well, I need to talk to your husband. I have to talk to everybody who lives here. And the husband could not have been clearer that he didn't want the dog.
Like he was gaming in the basement during this visit or some bullshit.
I mean, he's just
right?
standing there in the kitchen. He's like, yeah. And I was like, so, hey, what do you think about this? Like, she did this. He's like, whatever. Like, he did not want to get a dog.
That's not a good vibe. You don't want that dynamic.
There's one house that I had adopted a dog out to, which was a beautiful fit, and the wife wanted a second dog, and the husband didn't. So I was fostering another one, and I was like, I'm friends with a lot of these people on Facebook who adopt dogs from us, and the wife was like, oh, I would love for you to bring this foster by. We'd really like another one. And I was like, well, let me just come by, for like a play date, right? We don't need to do this as a foster visit, just see if the dogs get along, because if they don't, there's no reason for you to apply. Right. And show up, and the wife is like super enthused about the dog, and the husband, you can tell the husband doesn't want a second dog. And then it's like, well, you're not going to put the dog there,
No, but I remember the one you were telling me. I didn't go to these two, right? But you were like, where it was I a dog who pulled and escaped.
Oh, that one.
And they were like, "Oh, let's let the 4-year-old walk the dog around the block," or the 4 and the 6-year-olds.
I mean, they were maybe 8-year-olds,
Well,
but
maybe
not strong. This was a dog that pulled like.
It was one of these
crazy.
hyperactive. Maybe I don't think it was a Muto, but it was one of these hyperactive dogs. It was just like pulled, not good on a leash at all.
I mean,
right?
pulled hard, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you had to work hard. If you have a dog that's like a really aggressive
And if you and I
puller,
are pulling hard, we're good at this, right? We brace ourselves. We have hockey skills. I mean, there's a whole thing, right?
And they're like, oh yeah, I think they had like twin boys or something. Let the boys take the dog down to the other house. I was like, fuck no.
You're going to be down a dog, and the kids are going to be crying, and it's going to be a bad scene. Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I can't give them this dog. And they were really upset. Like they emailed and they're like, this is like the 5th dog in a row that we've applied to get that we haven't gotten. Like, what do we have to do to get a dog? And
I wonder why, actually.
And
that
I was
makes
like,
you feel better.
I mean, I think I was really honest, like in a gentle way. And I was like, look, this dog pulls a lot. I get that you want your kids to be able to walk the dog, but like this dog isn't the dog that you want for those kids. Like,
no, and maybe they're free ranging everything a little bit too much too. Frankly, it's you just get too much insight into people's psychologies and home lives.
I mean, I was like, we can find the dogs that is the best fit for them. Like, this isn't a judgment on whether or not you'd mistreat the dog, but like, this particular dog needs X, Y, and Z, and you want these things, and like, there's not quite a match there, and there's someone who was a better match than that. But if you want a dog that your kids can walk around, like, you should be looking for a different kind of dog than the ones that you're looking for.
Older dog. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, this poor boy who we adopted out to these people, he has a tumor on his spine, so he doesn't have much longer. He's only 7 years old, which is just like Riley. It's so sad.
Cancer's a bitch.
Yeah. So sad dog news.
Indirect,
Yeah.
2nd degree bad dog news. Yeah.
He was a good boy, and man, has he had a good life for the last 4.5 years.
Oh, he's
with
been
them.
doted on because they've showed up at events from Great too. They were at the live show in Rockville once, right? With
I think with Tegan the Doodle.
maybe, but I think they had at least
Maybe Brewer.
they may have had. Yeah, they may have had Luke there too, though. Or
I don't remember.
Jesus,
They definitely were there, though,
yeah,
for
no,
sure.
One or more of their dogs.
Yeah.
To stuff dollar bills in there in a very
Strippers, but wholesome.
wholesome.
Somebody got mad at me about that. All right. Well, you got anything else you want to add to our long podcast here, dear Dad?
No, I'm more sober today.
Way more sober.
I don't want to disappoint anyone, but can't always go balls out.
It's rare that you are in the state that you were at the last podcast. I mean, that's a once or twice a year kind
Everything
of thing.
came together. Everything came together. I can pace myself much better with beer and wine, but with the heavy stuff, even with sangria, I think, which was what we were drinking there, it's much more.
2 pitchers of sangria and then 6 beers is
It's a
really
problem.
aggressive.
I drink almost everything the same pace. So if it's 40 proof, it'll be 40 times as fast as a beer that's, it'll be 8 times as proof as a beer that's 5%, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but everything is drank in the same time.
Well, I'm glad that I'm still going to get to talk to you for the rest of the evening. Maybe we should watch another bad shark movie.
Yeah, or what were we going to watch? Kong? Oh, no, it's not on. Kong and Godzilla.
Godzilla versus Kong is
which
out,
is
I think,
ridiculous. I mean, I don't mean to add to the controversy, but it's just an ape against a freaking giant radioactive lizard that tears apart cities and stuff.
Who will win?
Kong eats like coconuts and crap. Of course, Godzilla in real life should win. Yes, Godzilla kicked the ass of that Muto.
Sure did.
Radioactive fire.
Flammenwerfen into its mouth.
Isn't that sort of end of story? End of game?
Yeah.
Game over?
Yeah, well.
That's it. Game over.
We'll see what happens on Thursday.
Boy, I got much more eloquent there at the end there. Huh? Whoa.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Get your second vaccine shot. Stay healthy. Maybe
Keep wearing a mask, though. Keep wearing a mask.
Do that. And until next time, don't bite anyone unless they ask you to.
No biting.
Bye.
Bye.